One. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to ICIC. We're about to delve into the letter that we've been exploring and co-creating, an invitation letter to ICIC, which will also be a good sort of kind of introduction to what this is about. Any volunteers for reading? Speak up if you do. Otherwise, I'm happy to read.
I'd like to read.
Go for it, Ananda.
ICIC invitation. Come join the rest of us. Wait, sorry, my screen just got in the way. Come join the rest of us changemakers in co-imagining the first intentional city in the clouds, ICIC. Before we can end the separation which plagues our cities and countries, let us first reinvent a new kind of city to unify all of humanity. A virtual city in the Zoomosphere, rooted in a shared commitment to save, heal, and transform life on Earth through conversation, collective sense-making, followed by collaborative action. ICIC is currently being designed to accomplish exactly that. Come join us to make this dream a reality. Our vision, which is evolving rapidly and needs your input, includes providing community support and shared resources for all change makers to become collectively brilliant together, all drawing upon the urgently needed public good of ICIC. If you hear it will be perfect, and it's so much fun. So that was the basic letter that we originally wrote. And then down here, we got some input from Alan, and he wrote us a letter. He wrote a letter to, actually, he delivered this to a billionaire he knows. And so that's what the next part is, just to explain that. And then, and further down, we kind of put the two together and then came up with kind of a outline of how we would organize ourselves. You want to scroll down a little more, and we'll just take a look at that. So I just wanted to kind of go overall of what we're doing, where that's coming from, and what we've got done so far. And I'm complete with just reading the first initial letter.
Oh, okay. I'd like to give a read through the bullets unless someone else would like to.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So we've got current state, coming out of change makers working separately and in opposition, and starting to collaborate and work together more and more. Progress. And the goals, number one, end the separation, come together, and two, unify. Shared commitment, examples, save, heal, and transform life on Earth, and collectively brilliant together. Collective super intelligence. And I'll read the next load of bullet points unless someone else wants to read. People and other resources. Change makers, experienced unifiers, public goods, success story about how humanity has come and is coming together around COVID, advice regarding pitfalls and best methodologies, platforms, example, intentional city in the clouds, or ICIC, and games, for example, the Monopoly. The process and tools to achieve the goals. How to come together, the black box, unify all of humanity and keep coming together. BB, I'm not sure what that is, I'm sorry.
Black box.
Oh yeah, the BB, just read that. Collective sense making, collaborative agreement and action, video conferences like this one, and other ways of people coming together, platforms including ICIC, Monopoly, Zoom, and Odoo, and databases. And the appendix, black box, could include action steps to keep us together.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you, Adam. And thus concludes our first pass. I per agenda, I said we just talk, like what are we, talk about what we just heard, and also anything that we think might be missing, and then we can go back to co-creating the next draft of the letter, building on what we have.
Well, I spent this morning listening to Akoff, and here is what he says. We need to work the whole system, not separated, fragmented pieces. We need to learn how to do that. Learning, we're not going to teach anybody anything. We're going to learn. As we learn, others learn. Everybody learns. So that's my point. How do you get that notion? Boom, boom, BOHM has the same concept. So you guys are new to change making. Berlanti talked about the change agents and whole systems and systems theory in the 40s. And then boom, BOHM, Google him. He is profound. And then Akoff makes it very practical and clear. And so let me repeat. We need to get the concept in there that we're going to work the whole system, not parts. When we work parts, we have fragmentation. Amen. My 2 cents. I don't care where you put it, how you do it, or if you do it. I'm a free man.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roland. Yes, Ananda.
I think this is the universal language right now. So I just got off the phone with Robert Schramm. Anybody here know him? He's a very big leader in the whole change-making organization. He's part of the World Summit. He's part of Hack Humanity. And he's part of the Synergy Hub. They're creating Synergy Hubs, and they're coming together with content right now, outlines of courses to teach, and eventually it's going to turn into a university or a university type learning environment. But all of the contacts he has and everybody he knows, he's highly networked. Everyone is saying the same thing. It's the universal language. We know we're fragmented. We know we need to unify. We don't know how to do that. We haven't had any previous generations model that for us. This is the first time we've actually had enough freedom of speech, if you want to call that, where people can come together and use their voice. And thanks to technology, we can do that. So I do believe that Sir Roland was exactly right on when he's talking about we need to learn the whole system and the concept of the whole system. So in working in conjunction with the Synergy Hub, who's now putting together programs for university material, I see it's probably going to go to a place where we're going to do Change Making 101, where it's a basic course. And I can even put that on my radio station. Change Making 101, a basic course of what is the whole system, what is the concept of the whole system, and how do we learn whole systems together. I want to show you something real briefly. My t-shirt.
Ananda Bliss, Shivananda.
So this was an academy that I actually put together. It was on manifesting and business. It was an entrepreneur college, and it was a residential college. And so people came and lived there for 3 months, and they went through this training together. And it was very profound because it was residential. So I just want to acknowledge Sir Roland for what he said, how dead on it is, and the fact that we're talking a universal language here. There isn't anybody on the planet doing any work in change making that doesn't say the same thing. We need to unify. We need to stop the separation. We need to stop being fragmented. And we already said that in our outline.
That's very wise. Now let me add something else. I signed my emails synergistically for maybe 10 years until I realized what I was starting to say. Sin, sin, sin. I got rid of that word. When we're aware, words matter. So I just no synergistic in these letters here. Sin, sin, sin. The other word that bugs me is people say hello. What an awful greeting. Hell, hell, low, low. We must, David Cooper Ryder from Case Western Reserve, probably one of the 5 leading change-making universities in the world, and who keynoted the World Unity recently here in our 8-day open space, says words matter. So that's my 2 cents. And Ananda, or whatever the lady's name, what's her name?
Ananda, yeah, that's correct.
Oh, what a beautiful name. Bliss, Ananda, ecstasy, enlightenment. So I love what you all say. Oh, and what I like most about you say, let's get this done today. Action.
Let's get this done today.
Sayonara. Cheerio, as they say in England.
Thank you, Roland.
Yes.
So how can we go from here to finishing up our outline, or defining ourselves so that we can finish up our outline into a cohesive invitation? So some people, if they choose, can start putting it to action and going out and making invitations for change makers to join us. Yes, Jamin.
Well, I have an elephant in the room point I'd like to make. And basically, I see really 3 elephants, and it's kind of like, which elephant do we want to get on the back of, right? And one is an elephant called anything and everything goes, right? Where we basically say, you know, the way that we would like to go about this is whatever idea, whatever project, whatever mission you're on, welcome, and we'll give you space to talk about it, and you'll have, you know, whatever basic support for it, etc. So basically, I'm just going to call that the anything goes principle. Another is the basically everybody shut up, and my idea is the good one. I know what's most urgent. I know what's most important, and I'm just going to call it I, right? And occasionally someone will come through and say, hey, everybody stop. I've got the most urgent thing right now. And then the third elephant would be somewhere in the middle that basically goes like this. There is an optimal path out there waiting to be discovered. And it's probably some mashup of elements of the first element, right? And, you know, let's have that conversation. Now, are the 3 elephants clear? Anything goes, I, and hey, let's do a synthesis, but moving towards perhaps a singular strategy, an overall strategy, which may include multiple elements. In fact, it may include all of the elements from the anything goes elephant.
It's clear to me. I have been working with elephants in the room for 50 years. They have to be, they need to be dealt with.
Thank you. So let's acknowledge ourselves for all the work that we already have done with this basic outline. Let's not dismiss the fact that we've already put in many hours. And, you know, we could expound on that or have a circle, go around and have everybody express what works for them or what doesn't work for them with the work that we've already completed. I would not want to be reinventing the wheel like what is so much of what's happening in the world right now. There's so many organizations reinventing the wheel. Let's not do that because we want to be above that. So let's acknowledge ourselves for the work that's already done and then decide what to do with that.
Yeah, I second that motion. I acknowledge that the work we've already done is very good. And I'm not sure if your comment was directed at what I was just saying about the 3 elephants, because that was certainly not to dismiss the work that's already been done, but to point out something that I think is missing and that I think would make a big difference to address that or include that in some way. That, hey, there's a different, there are some different, you know, kind of styles and methodologies out there. And, you know, what is our intent? Are we picking one? Are we ignoring the elephants in the room? Are we saying anything go? I mean, you know, which, you know, are we good with one elephant? And if so, which one? Or are we good with all 3? And if so, let's say that. So Ananda, were you basically suggesting that I'm somehow not acknowledging the good work that we've already done? Or I'm just trying to put your comment into really make sense of it.
Yeah, just let's not forget where we left off and what we've already done. You can use those 3 elephants to address all of that. But what I'm not comfortable with is starting again with lots more discussion, kind of in a different direction, or not acknowledge what we've already done, and maybe, you know, as a facilitator, I can kind of I've learned how to drive a group to stay on topic, to, you know, make sure everybody's heard, to make sure that you know, that there's validation and there's accountability and all of that stuff. And so if you're going to invite elephants in the room to kind of go off into all kinds of directions, that doesn't match with what we wanted to do in the beginning about let's finish this letter today. So
I don't think Jamin means that.
okay.
You know, I worked with one of the largest organizations in the world, and we had the elephant come in the room with a trunk and a big costume and so forth. And we had everybody say, what are the elephants? And we gave it, there was 300 people there. We gave it to the executive team, a leadership team, which we need. Jamin leads it. And then we addressed that overnight and came back and we got standing ovations because the executive team says, okay, we'll deal with that elephant. We'll get rid of it. And so that's my story about elephants. It's an ongoing process. Oh, and I agree. We don't start over. I mean, what you got there, I think, is excellent. Great stuff. Amen. Ananda, Shivananda, serve, love, realize, do good, be good.
Thank you, Sir Roland. And Eric had raised his hand.
Yeah, listen, I realize I'm new here and this is possibly not my place to say this, but speaking personally, I don't feel I have anything whatsoever to contribute to the formulation of this letter until I have some clarity as to what it is we're trying to do here, right? It feels to me like, and Andy, you obviously want to get this letter done, and you know that's your top priority, and that's fine. So may I offer a suggestion? Why don't you write up a draft of the letter, right? A formal draft that you're happy with, put it up as a Google Doc, make it open for everyone to come and make amendments to. And then in this meeting on Thursday or Friday or next Tuesday or whatever, the amendments can be done, and then you can have a solid discussion about what's gone on there. But I mean, I don't know how other newcomers feel, but I don't have any clarity around what it is we're inviting people to. And so in terms of helping to formulate the letter, I've got absolutely nothing to offer at this stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was actually kind of my point for my initial proposal for the agenda is we read through the letter, we've done that, then let's have some conversation. What is the it, right? So that Eric and others can have a feel for what on earth are we up to here, right? And that doesn't have to be a very long conversation, but that's yet another elephant in the room is what are we up to here? But all of this I'm proposing is to be additive, not as a replacement, not as a substitute for the good work that we've already done with the letter, but to be additive to it in the sense of, you know, let's just have a conversation about what we're up to here. I think that's absolutely vital. And I think that will really help the process of developing the letter. So I propose we pass around the talking feather and give everyone an opportunity to express what they think we're up to here, starting with you, Ananda, and Eric. I see you got your hand up. That's my proposal. Yes, go ahead, Eric.
I'd like actually to propose the possibility of using a methodology called the glass bead game, which I play with other people quite regularly. And for stuff like this, where we're trying to generate ideas, right? We don't actually really know even what the space is yet, right? We're just trying to feel out the space. And it's a time thing. We take 1 minute each just to say whatever comes to our mind, and then what's gone before, let's the next people build on those previous ideas. We have a clear delineated amount of time each. We go around in a circle once, maybe twice, and then see what comes from that. And then we have an open discussion based on all of the ideas that are now floating around in the space that have been generated from the game.
I'm totally game. So can we agree upon what kind of time window? I'm happy to keep track of time and hold up fingers for however many minutes. I would propose 2 minutes, and I'm not attached at all. So any thoughts?
I would say that's a bit long for an exploratory game. I would say somewhere between 30 seconds and a minute would be the sweet spot.
Should we just go with 1 minute?
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And then let's have an agreement that when you hit 1 minute, I'll hold up one finger. And how much spillover time are we going to tolerate? 15 seconds?
Well, maybe hold up your hand with 10 seconds to go. Give people a 10-second warning.
Okay, I'll do this. This will say 10 seconds to go.
Perfect.
5 seconds to go. And then are we going to be strict about the 1 minute mark?
As best we listen, if you go a word or two over, you go a word or two over. But the idea is to discipline yourself to stay in that minute. And listen, if you can't fill the minute, then some of it can be silence, right? Silence is actually quite a good punctuator of the game sometimes, rather than talking as quickly as you can to get as much into a minute, right? And you know, we can go around once, or as I say, twice actually. Sometimes the second go round is, especially for the first time you've played, the second go round can be much more generative than the first one.
Love it. And thank you for modeling the concision and being a stand for that. So I'm happy to both keep track of the cue and the time, since I do this all the time. Is everybody good with that, or would anyone else like to play one or both of those?
We just need to decide an order. That's all. And we just need to decide an order.
Oh, okay. So you're proposing fixed order rather than based on who's raising their hands.
We can do it on raising hand too. Yeah, no, we can do it on either. Fixed order it just takes any confusion away, but we can do it with raising hand if you prefer. Yeah, that's fine too. Whatever.
Okay, Ananda, any preferences?
You're muted, Ananda.
You're muted, Ananda.
I said I'm used to facilitating in the sociocratic way, where the facilitator just picks the next person to talk. And if you don't want to talk, you just pass until the next time around. So it's in rounds rather than raising hands, because the problem with raising hands is
Yeah,
the
that's
quiet
right, round.
people.
So let's, do you know what? I'll type out an order. I'll type out an order in the chat.
I was just going to suggest alphabetical, which I'm happy to.
Okay, alphabetical, fine. Yep, yep,
Okay.
alphabetical.
All right. So we've got Adam, Alan, and Ananda, the 3 A's. That's easy. Then we've got Eric. Then we've got Jamin. No, Eric, Frank.
Yeah.
Jamin, Roland, and Simon. That work for everyone? And we are recording. Do this if you ever want to pause. And we're going to go on 1-minute cycles. I'll hold up. When you hear me do this, means you got 10 seconds to go. Okay. And you can always just say pass. If you don't want to talk on the next round, just say pass. And you can also just be silent and breathe if you think we need some silence. Nothing wrong with that too. It's your minute. Is that fair? Everybody agree to the rules? Any amendments? Let's do it. Adam, you got 60 seconds.
Just one request first. Can you put the letter in front of us before you, before we start?
Put the what in front of you?
The doc, the Google Doc.
Oh, yeah. Do you want that up while we're talking, or okay? Because I think I'd rather kind of see each other's faces as we're talking.
I agree. I'd rather see each other's
Well,
faces.
I want to refer to it and I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
So when I talk, I want to refer to it.
You got it. So I'll tell you what, if you want the letter up while you're talking, say letter, and your time won't start until the letter is up and we're ready to go. Okay, so we'll allow
Got
for
it.
Okay, so Adam, so let's model it. Adam, before we start, do you want letter up? Just say letter up, or if you don't say let, just start talking.
Yeah, I'll just start my time now. Yeah, it's strange because it's the idea that I haven't had any sort of topic that I had in my mind to actually refer to. So maybe my topic and input is going to be the idea of struggling to think of something to say, because there's so many experiences that a person has in their lifetime, that there's so many things that they can refer back to, and there's plenty of ways that you can draw upon those experiences to actually buy yourself some time. but yeah, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is the idea of, is there time? Is there actually time? Like I've seen some of these things coming out about the climate situation, and I've thought, is there enough time to turn this around?
Very good. Speaking of time, thank you for respecting it. And Ananda, I know you want a screen share, so let me do that. And then I'll start your clock going. And first, tell me where you want to be up here, Ananda. Take it to the top, or bullets, or what?
Well, first I want to just briefly address the top, and then I want you to scroll down to the bullet items.
Okay, we're on top.
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're defining what it is that we're doing here. And this was an original letter that was aimed at inviting people to come and join us, change makers, to come and join us. And so a lot of work and energy went into this letter, and it's pretty self-explanatory what you do with it, or where it came from. And now please scroll down to the bullet items. So we're talking here about it. Just, to me, it's all said right here after a bunch of work with co-creating. It's where we're coming from. It's where we're going to. What we're doing here is we're ending separation and we're unifying the change makers. And what we're doing is we're sharing the commitment, and we're healing the earth. And what we're doing is collectively doing that together. And how we're doing that is we're addressing all of the groups and the resources and people and other resources. And we have tools that we can use. So basically, who we are and what we're doing is we're unifying the, scroll up to the first, the goals. the goals. So what we're doing is we're ending separation in fragmented change groups, and we're composing a letter to invite them here to join us.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ananda. All right, next up is Eric.
I've really only got one thought or one question, I guess, really. I think it's absolutely true that there are loads of change makers all over the world, and they're all basically talking the same language, all basically wanting the same thing, and that the desire to unite them under some umbrella or another is one which is shared between many. The question I have, there have been many attempts to do this in the past. The question I have, what is it about this one that takes it a step forward and reduces fragmentation and is not simply adding to the fragmentation, creating yet another atom in the system? Yeah, what do we have that all other existing attempts and previous attempts do not have? That's the only question, as far as I'm concerned, that's important. I'm done.
Very good. Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Uncle Frank, it's your turn at the wheel. You have 1 minute if you want it. And you need to unmute.
No, I can't. I know. I can't contribute anything right now, Jamin. So carry on to the next.
Okay, well, there's absolutely no pressure. So no problem. Next is Jamin. So starting the clock. I'm going to create a little bit of an index for what I want to say later in subsequent minutes, because I'm not going to get it all done in a minute, but I think Eric's question is absolutely crucial. So here comes the index. What do we got, that's so unique? We started this process with Ananda saying, how can we possibly unite the whole world, bring the whole world together? And she said, the best way I can think of to do that is a conference. So we started playing with the idea of a conference. Now, back in November, we launched here on this very channel, the press conference, which I'll talk about later. So just make a note, the press conference. That was something totally unique. Another thing that's totally unique about us is the conversation, which is now almost 24/7. So the 24/7 conversation is another unique thing. And so we started to think, what can we put all this into? What's kind of a container for all this? And we came up with the idea of the intentional city in the clouds, which I'll talk about more as well. That's my minute. And thank you for listening. And next is Sir Roland, followed by Simon. And by the way, Alan and Marco, I hadn't actually put you in the list because I hadn't seen you there. So if you are here, please express yourselves, wave or throw an orange at me. Sir Roland, go for it. You got a minute.
I'm gonna trust the process.
Sorry, Roland, just before you go, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to need to go in about 5 minutes. I'm going to need to go. I've got another call. I'm just going to slip away, but just to let you know, I'm not being rude. I need to go.
Okay, so I'd love for you to have another turn at the wheel before you go.
I'll go immediately after my next turn. How about that?
Okay,
you can go right now.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead. I've got 5 or 10 minutes. It's fine. You go ahead.
Okay, I trust the process, to use Jack Gibbs' phrase. And to answer the big question, what's missing is that we need to have unified leadership with Jamin at the top, with maybe 4 or 5 people with him doing the kind of initial work, sending it out to the whole world, and that was over. But then coming back and making decisions, this is it. And then the last thing we need to do is this is a tough one. We need to get results measured. We need the University of Chicago in here, or somebody like that can actually document the results, hard data that's objective that we got, because that's what will give us the money. And the second thing they do is they do evaluation, soft evaluation, and collect the success stories, put them on a website. So it is, and then we go second year. We go again. Amen, hallelujah, Nanda, Shivananda, serve, love, meditate, realize, be good, do good.
All right. Thank you, Sir Roland. Next up is Simon, and then we'll go back to Adam. Go for it, Simon.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. I've been thinking about what we're trying to do with the money-free party. We've developed it and we're sort of just starting to roll it out now. Perhaps one thing you could do is to, when you've got the letter ready, just to send it to a few people, because I was thinking, how would I react if I saw that letter? And what I would want to know is, what is it that makes the proposal unique, if indeed it is unique? Because then that addresses this issue of, you know, repeating what others have done previously. You really need to highlight the fact that this is something that could make a difference, that is missing from the narrative. So I would be very interested in a word you've used many times, Jamin, which is architecture. What is the architecture that really makes this something which is both unique and needed? That's all. Finished.
Beautiful. Thank you, Simon. All right. We're about to go for round two, starting with Adam, followed by Alan if he's here. Adam, take it away. And you're on mute, Adam.
There we go. I'm unmuted. There we go. So yeah, round two, the necessary architecture, coming off of what Simon was saying, we're hopefully creating now with, you know, as you were saying, Jamin, is nearly 24/7, and already considering how little time you guys have had already to work on it, you've made this much progress. That's really cool. And I think also filling that architecture with the right kind of people. There was, I'll just refer quickly if I can to some of the notes that I made on another call. It was about the principles of building the kind of team for the kind of people around you. Find the right team, having a similar vision and mission. You need to find your tribe. Wait a minute. Can you still hear me, guys?
Yeah, you're still all right.
Yeah, you need to find your tribe. Do they share the same goal? If you put out the right vibe, you will find the right tribe. So that's really my input there.
Beautiful. Thank you, Adam. All right, next up is Alan, if he's there. It's a bit late there in Scotland, so I don't expect, and he's been at it quite a bit. Next up is Ananda, and let me know if you want me to screen share again before I start timing.
No, I don't think it's necessary to screen share again. So I'll start my timing now. I just am in alignment with everything everyone is saying. You know, how are we unique? What's needed? And then the action. What do we offer people? What kind of invitation do we offer people to come and join us so that they can find out if they're part of our tribe or not? Just get them on the conversation. And, you know, how can we step into action? I'm complete. I'm just basically reiterating everything everyone said, but wondering how do we take all of this and get something done?
Beautiful. I'm going to take a brief administrative pause to welcome Michael Gaio. Michael, we are in a process where we're going 1 minute each, 1 minute each, 1 minute each, and your name will come up in about 2 or 3 minutes. Next up is Eric, followed by Jamin, Marco, and Michael. Go ahead, Eric.
Just firstly, want to echo a couple of things. What Ananda just said at the end there about actually turning this into action on the ground of some kind. I completely agree with that. I've been singing the same song for quite a while now. There's an awful lot of talk, doesn't turn into a lot of action in the world. So yeah, I completely echo that. Also, I really like this vibe tribe thing that Adam came up with. I think that's really nice also. And so just coming back to the architecture, because that's the main point of this. The architecture is everything, right? How we go about conducting these sessions, especially when they start to get a little bit larger. There's a lot of people in the room, right? Making sure that everyone gets heard, that no one feels shut out, that no one feels like anyone's dominating, you know what I mean? Like all of these kind of things, coming up with protocols. I think this glass bead game is a really excellent one. This timing thing is taking turns so that everybody guaranteed gets heard. Everyone has to shut up and listen, you know? And it's a, not necessarily this particular format, but that kind of little constraint. I like to call it, well, not, I like to call it, I'm stealing other people's phrases, but it's called an enabling constraint, right? Where the constraint imposed actually creates a lot more possibility and avoids confusion. So coming up with these structures is going to be vitally, vitally, vitally important. In fact, I would say that is what the thing is the structures by which it operates. So that's it, that's me done. And I'm sorry, I've got another meeting at 8:15. I really, really have to go.
No, go take your meeting and then come back. We'll be here for several hours and it'll have evolved.
Okay, yeah, I might pop back afterwards. Yeah, listen, I've already been on this is my third call already today. So listen, I may not, but if I still feel like I have some energy, I'll pop back later. Nice to meet with you.
Great to see you, Eric. No pressure, just love having you here. So, all righty. Next up is Uncle Frank, followed by Jamin, followed by Marco. And I don't see Uncle Frank here, so he gets a pass. Jamin, you're up next. Don't mind if I do, followed by Marco, who may not be here either. We'll see. And then Michael, who's here. Okay, Jamin. All right. So one of the things, speaking of structure, I really love and second Eric's points that he just made. I think those were brilliant. I'm going to go ahead and screen share something that we implemented back in November, which has a really solid structure to it. That is the press conference. So basically, I invited up to 100 speakers for the first day, offering everyone 2 minutes each, right? And so here we have a list. We had some opening addresses during the first hour. There was Sir Roland, lots of names you might recognize, Chief Phil Lane, Kate Roberts, Pato and Antoinette, Molyneux, John Raymer, et cetera, et cetera. Some other names you'll recognize, Dot Maver, Lauren and Charlie from Kiko Lab. Anyway, you can go to thepressconference.org. I'll put it in the chat. Then we had some keynotes, Guy McPherson, Dr. Ye Tao, really crucial stuff, great images. Again, website will be in the chat, and that's and I'll talk about more stuff on my next turn at the wheel. Thank you all for listening. Next up, Marco, you've got a minute if you want it. Take it away, Marco.
Yeah, sorry, I was overslept here. I was up late last night working on the Amazon project. So I'm not exactly sure where we're at. I didn't get a chance to read the email last night either. So I'm just glad to be here right now, and I'll get caught up, I guess, after another round here, so just hanging in until I get my bearings again on where we're at. I'm complete for now.
Very good, Marco. Awesome. So yeah, you'll catch up real quick. All right, next up is Michael, who's also in the process of catching up, and followed by Sir Roland, followed by Simon. Take it away, Michael.
Hey, thanks. Hey, everyone. Good to be back. Yeah, I don't know what the trend of the conversation has been up to this point, but I did read the email. I'm interested in the billionaire conversation, and I'm just here mainly with the same perspective I've been coming in with the last several meetings when it talks about, when we're talking about architecture and structure. I'm really passionate about bringing in the possibility of using decentralizing technologies and things like cryptocurrencies. And there's just a huge realm of innovation and social change happening already out there in a way that most people don't realize, and that these new technologies, these new ways of doing things actually offer us new patterns for structure that we haven't had before. And so it's really good to be looking at that when we consider architecting and restructuring. And also particularly in the scope of looking at what economics is and what money and currency can do as far as providing structure for the game rules. It's just the way the world works, the way we design economies tends to steer human behavior. And so we can use these technologies to create economic like rules to steer our behavior in this group and even the world. So just something to look at. That's all I have to say for now. Let's continue.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Michael. By the way, when I hold up my hand, it means you have 10 seconds left because we're kind of on a pretty disciplined 1-minute cycle. So thanks everyone for playing the game. Next up is Sir Roland, followed by Simon. Sir Roland, you got a minute if you'd like. And you're on mute, Sir Roland. All right, he may have taken a break. So next up is, well, actually, while we're waiting for Roland, let me.
Hey, wait, I'm sorry. I was, okay. I suggest we get off the merry-go-round. And I think this is a very good process right here. And I suggest that what we've done, we give to Ananda and Jamin, and they finalize it. Amen, hallelujah. Because Ananda wants it done today. It's great. Amen, I'm done.
All right, great. And I'm just going to take a quick administrative pause, and Ananda, please join me with this, just to help bring the newcomers up to speed. Is we're basically doing a round robin, 1 minute each, and addressing, what are we up to here? What's this all about? What are we doing? And that includes putting questions on the table. It includes saying, hey, I think we're up to this, or I think we're up to that, or I think we haven't addressed this. It's all fair game. Yes, Michael.
I just have a question. So am I already included in the next round?
Yeah. Anyone who's here is automatically included. And it's okay to take a pass and say, I've got nothing to say this round, take a pass, and so on. And Marco, hopefully that was enlightening for you as well. Next up is Simon, and then we go back alphabetically. We're doing it in alphabetical order. After Simon, it'll be Adam, followed by Alan. So go ahead, Simon.
Okay, a few things spring to mind. I take slight issue with what Roland's saying to the extent that I'm not too comfortable with executive orders. This is a collaborative process. So I like the involvement of as many people as possible to come to a conclusion. It's sometimes difficult, I understand that, but nonetheless, I think that's what we're trying to do here, isn't it? The two other things that sprung to mind is one option, an interesting option, would be actually to go to the end. Imagine fast forward 6 months or a year. What could you imagine going on here then? What would that look like? And then think about how the steps to get to there. And the other thing that sprung to mind in terms of the letter and the language, reference to change makers. A lot of people are change makers and don't know it. So you need something in there that makes it clear that all are welcome, even if they've got no history. This is an opportunity to learn and become influential and a change maker indeed.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Simon. All right, now we're starting the alphabet from the top. We've got Adam, followed by Alan. If Alan's awake and alert, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, I'd say I'm liking where it's going in terms of thinking, okay, what sort of steps are next. I like that, and really that's all I have for this round.
Wow, well, thank you for modeling concision. That's super cool. Brownie points to Adam. And Alan, you there? Alan, just let us know whenever you wake up, and you can jump in the cycle. Next up is Ananda, followed by Uncle Frank. Take it away. Actually, Uncle Frank may not even be here. So Ananda followed by Jamin. Go ahead, Ananda.
Thank you, Simon, for bringing up the question of who are we addressing? And when this started, it started from my experience of running the Future Now Radio, where I am talking to leaders and founders of organizations that are all making change, and they all know who they are. And so the idea of unifying all the change makers means that they're involved in some kind of organization or activism, or some kind of reading a book, or some kind of awakening to the mindfulness of what's going on here. This is kind of a title they've given themselves, the change makers. I know that Steve Saylor talked about the Money Free Party as being the change maker. So I want to take Simon's suggestion and broaden the invitation to people that don't even know they're change makers. This could be the single mom down the street that the only thing she does is mail out a couple letters every month to invite people to our call. So I like that plan of broadening the idea of the change makers. Ultimately, though, as Roland said, I'd like to have this done today. I'm not stuck on that. What I do know is that we need to grow, and we need to grow fast, and we need a lot of people in here talking about major, massive changes going on in the world. And the best way to do that is to invite them in. And that's how we got to this point of creating and wordsmithing a letter together to change makers, or whoever we want to call them, to come in and come join us. And we've even designated a day where we can hear what they have to showcase about their organization. So that's the first step in bringing the groups together and stopping the separation. And I'm complete.
All righty, that was 2 minutes. I'm not quite sure what to do in those cases. I don't have the habit of interrupting ladies when they're talking, so I'll just hold up 2 fingers when it gets to 2 minutes and so on. Next up is Jamin. So here goes. I really liked what Simon said about imagining from the future, and so I'm going to play off that for a moment. And so basically, I see this as a process of panning for gold. It's collective panning for gold, where each of us has to be ready to be mud, and each of us has to be ready to be gold. And only the collective process and the collective intelligence will surface which is which. And again, that was the idea behind the press conference, which I screen shared, and which Michael did a great job. Michael Gaio, raise your hand, did a great job building the website for. And it was a really successful process. It was built on this one principle, which I'll blurt out in 20 seconds, that for years, I've been like, hey, everybody, we got to focus on SRM. Hey, everybody, we got to feel the work. And I was like, why aren't people listening to me? And it finally dawned on me, before people are ready to listen, they first need to be heard. So I said, all right, let's throw some red meat to the dogs, pardon the non-vegan analogy. Press conference. If you want the world to hear you, come to the press conference. You got 2 minutes, and like 60 some people came for the first one, and it was amazing. See thepressconference.org. That's my minute. And next up is, we've got Marco followed by Michael, M&M. Marco, you ready to go? And it's always okay to take a pass as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take a pass.
Okay, very good. Michael, followed by Sir Roland.
Great. So I'm just going to repeat something I've said in meetings here before, because I know we have some new people here. But I've been into these conversations for a while now, years actually. Having these live video conversations, and myself, like others, have noticed that it's like it seems like we're not really getting traction. How are we getting traction on things? We're having a lot of great ideas and a lot of conversations. How do we get traction? What my proposal is, and getting back to the decentralized technology opportunity, is that we can create a bare bones minimum system parallel to this, where we can have a system where we can make proposals as individuals, or say a great idea comes up here, we can make a proposal, and then that system also has a way of having a bare bones democracy system where we can vote on that outside of real time, meaning that everything we're doing here is real time and people are coming in and popping out, and it's hard to really get any coherency on what we're saying and what we're doing. Whereas this could be something that lives in parallel to this, a proposal system, a democracy system, and that way we can begin to build some of this thing. And that could even include, I'll just end it right here, that can include putting out proposals for what does the end look like, because I like that too. What is our end goal? What does it look like? And then get the goals backwards and build up to it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Michael. All righty, we got Sir Roland followed by Simon. Take it away, Sir Roland, if you like.
Yes, Simon, Simon, Simon. You are delaying the process. And this is what I suggest. Let Jamin and let Ananda take what we have and freeze it. Okay? Otherwise, we're going to go on and on and on. Okay? As I listened to 2 hours of Akoff this morning, he says we are not effective. And we've got to be effective and get off the merry-go-round. So that's my sense. And I said my other things about the whole system. And amen, hallelujah, Nanda. Shivananda, be good, do good.
All right, and I just need to make an executive comment or an administrative comment that we will not be suppressing any opinions today. And next up is Simon, and then we'll start the alphabet over. Go ahead, Simon.
Okay, Roland, thanks for that. I would say three things. One is, within the context of what we've just been discussing, it seems like the letter is written for existing change makers. So fine, send the thing. Send it to, who is your list? Who are you going to send it to? Is that 100 people to start with? Send it, and send it on the basis of maybe an addendum. What do you think? The feedback. The second thing I would say is the letter doesn't need to be set in stone. You're going to be sending it to other people on an ongoing basis, so the letter can evolve. And the third thing I would say is, who says that any of us who wants to invite anybody has to use that letter? Something far more personal sometimes, even if that's just a phone call. Does it have to be a letter? If you know somebody personally, just pick up the phone and invite them. That makes them feel far more valued than a mass-produced letter that's gone out to umpteen other people, especially if they're talking to each other.
Brilliant, brilliant. Love it. All right. Next up is, we're going back to the top of the alphabet. We've got Adam, followed by Alan, if he's here. If not, Ananda. So Adam, please take it away.
Hi there, guys. Okay, so I think this is what, round 3, round 4? I've lost count now. But yeah, I'll use my time to sort of pose that. Yes, we're not necessarily all on the right track and all on the right sort of bandwidth, as it were. But hopefully, we're all headed in the right direction. And we know that unification doesn't necessarily mean that we all have to be singing all the words from the same hymn sheet, but rather that we are all have a fundamental agreement in terms of which direction we need to be going towards. And that's why me, Simon, and Eric are here in terms of the to talk about the Money Free Party as well, to use the political side of this to say that's a voice we need heard as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Adam. All right, Alan, again, wake up whenever you're available. Let us know. If not, Ananda, take it away.
Yeah, every round it keeps getting richer and richer. We were talking about this this letter that we're co-creating now. We've done a lot of work on it already. Jamin and I have wordsmithed together before, and we're brilliant at it. And we just hammered out the first letter you saw was absolutely incredible. We were also working with a professional editor at the same time on the call, but there's only 3 of us that composed that letter, and it turned out to be beautiful. The second part of it, we organize ourselves a little further and what we will want to do. So my vision is that we want to run a campaign, very much like what I did for Steve Saylor in his presidency. And the campaign means you have lots of volunteers in there who have no idea how to deliver your message, you know, in a clear and concise way. So this letter is designed to be an assistance to the hundreds of people that are going to help us run a campaign to get people here. End of sentence.
Awesome. Thank you, Ananda. All right. Next up is Jamin, followed by the M&Ms of Marco and Michael. Jamin, starting now. So I want to further build off what Simon was saying about imagining the end. And so here's the kind of one end state that I'm envisioning is that we do this process, we build whatever architecture, perhaps including the press conference, perhaps including some other things that we've been talking about, the Omnopoly game, new forms of currency. I'm really digging this 1 minute thing, except for when it's my turn and I feel kind of hurried. But I'm imagining that with the Billionaire Rebellion, which I wrote about in the email, which I think is a really powerful kind of blasting medium to blast into the mind and get people's attention. We'll use whatever process, bubble up some really good ideas, and then some billionaires are going to step forward and say, boom, I'm going to fund that one. Poof. And then, whoa, hey, well, where did this come from? Well, it came out of ICIC. Suddenly we get a whole bunch more people coming into ICIC, a bunch more ideas bubbling to the top, more billionaires throwing down, more people coming together to support them. Real action, real traction. There's my minute. Next is Marco, if you're ready, followed by Michael.
I'm going to pass again.
Very good. Nothing wrong with that. And Michael.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say in this minute, but I will just say that, you know, I am a person who I really value free markets. I like the free market paradigm. I like fluid democracy. I think that while it's good to have guidelines and structure, I think it should be minimal. And that the real magic of innovation, creativity comes from having a lot of people participating at high velocity with a lot of freedom, with minimum bounds, and then you're just going to get a lot of really great stuff happening. And I'm seeing this happening in places like the cryptocurrency space. With that said, too, Adam, you had mentioned this free money party. I don't know what that is. I'd like to hear more about it from someone.
All right. Great, Michael. Thank you. Next up is Sir Roland, followed by Simon. Take it away, Sir Roland.
Well,
by the way, yeah.
Jamin, you're dreaming that the money's going to pop in. My process will guarantee the money will pop in. I know where there are billions of dollars for climate change and the disease. Billions. And if we got to have the research, we got to have the evals, and we'll get it. But I'm saying, again, let's get off this frickin' merry-go-round. Let's let Ananda and Jamin finalize the letter. It doesn't mean it can't be changed later. But come on, you guys are dancing in the stars. My mentor, Warner Burke, coined a frickin' name, change maker. Okay, I know what I'm talking about. And Columbia University, and so be it. I'm done speaking. I don't ask me anything more, and I say Ananda, Shivananda. serve, love, meditate, realize, be good, do good, be great, do greatness. Amen. Hallelujah. I'm done.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sir Roland. Next up is Simon.
Okay, I feel the need to defend myself here a wee bit. I'm not trying to hold anything out. That's the last thing on my mind. There's a well-known saying, isn't there? Ready, aim, fire. One of the favorite books on my bookshelf is actually Fire, Aim, Ready. So, I'm all for doing things and seeing what happens, clearing the mess up afterwards on occasion. All I would say is that there is a potential danger where if you invite people and when they come here, it's an unsatisfactory experience for them, you may lose them and they may never come back. So you need to be confident that when you do invite them, you haven't sort of forgotten the aspect of what you're inviting them to. So it's kind of dual thing, it's all very well saying, let's get on with the letter, but you need to get on with who was talking about the wholeality, the wholeness of the thing, it's not just one aspect, is it? All these things need to gel. That's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Simon. Love it, love it. All right. Next up is Adam, followed by Alan, if he's there. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, yeah. To address the question of what the money-free party is, it's really a political party that advocates for and hopes to, get the wheels moving on the transition to a resource-based economy. If I assume that a lot of you guys are familiar with the principle of a resource-based economy, where science and sustainability are the foundation, and we work towards improving things and being but yeah, that's really what the money-free party is. We're trying to build things up from the grassroots. It was kind of popular, I think, in New Zealand a couple of years ago, and people who have also done presidential campaigns, like Steve Saylor was one of them. You'll find a lot of his videos on YouTube. So that's my time, and Simon's put up the link as well in the chat.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Adam. All right. Next up, we've got Ananda, followed by Jamin. Go for it, Ananda.
I propose that Jamin and I wordsmith the rest of this letter. We have plenty of outline to go on that's, again, already been worked on, and come back to the group with a proposed letter. And in the meantime, let's keep doing this work of defining who we are and what we're doing, because I can visualize a whole bunch of people raising their hand and say, I'll send out 10 invitations a week, and we have actual lists of change makers. And so if we got a bunch of people in sending out a letter, the thing that's important about the letter is that we need to all agree on what it says, so that we're all saying the same universal message. One person isn't off saying one thing, one person isn't off saying another, we're all saying the same thing. So that's the importance of having a letter that's wordsmithed by all of us. I'm complete.
Awesome. Thank you, Ananda. All right. Next is Jamin, followed by the M&Ms. Hope you don't mind my saying that, just trying to make it a little fun. Marco and Michael. Jamin, oh, don't mind if I do. Okay. So two things. Number one, again, I really like what Simon said a few minutes ago about let's envision the end state. Where do we want to get to? And I think panning for gold is a really good way to that. And I also want to acknowledge the success that we've already achieved with the press conference. I know not everyone was here when we did it, but it is ours, and it was very successful. Everyone loved it. It's well worth watching or dabbling in. And it basically says, listen, everyone gets their 2 minutes or 5 minutes, where the consensus is basically liberated from 2 minutes to 5 if you're going to present at a press conference. And that way we we make it so that everyone gets their turn at the talking feather, but we also get to bubble stuff at the top. Another really important facet of it is that what a lot of people did, most people did, was they invited people to join them at an open house. So, hey, here's my 5 minutes of fame. If you like what I just said, join me at the open house. And then pass the talking feather. It's a really cool process. And the fact that it's cast as a press conference really gets, it brings people in, right? Because who doesn't want to talk at a press conference? Everyone wants to be heard. All right, I went 15 seconds overtime. Sorry about that. Next up is Marco, followed by Michael.
Yeah. Hold on. I was locked out of my account here, so like I said, just trying to catch up after a long night. I'm still a little confused where we're going. The first time I haven't read your Jamin's email, and apparently it seems like it was important that I read it because I'm still a little lost here. I will catch up and read the email, and yeah, I'm anxious to hear what Michael Gaio has to say right now. I'm complete.
Okay, I'm just going to take a quick administrative pause. So what we're up to here, Marco, and you don't need to read the email, we're just co-creating. What are we doing here? What are we trying to co-create with ICIC, Omnopoly, et cetera, et cetera? What are we doing here? That's the simple as that. And so feel free to jump in. Questions are valid as well as comments. Next up is Michael Gaio. Take it away whenever you're ready, Michael.
I'm ready. So yeah, first off, the letter that's being written, that's great. I'm glad you guys are writing it. I don't feel, I feel like you guys can just take care of it. The only thing I would add to that would be that, you know, perhaps include maybe some emphasis or space for looking for particular kinds of chain makers that do have technical expertise, meaning that if we're going to be building things, a lot of what we're building is in the internet spheres. And having people with those kinds of skills is really valuable. We've known this for a long time. So, and those people are change makers too. So, and with that said, again, I just see that, you know, building out a proposal system and some kind of loose democratic system would be a good step in moving us forward towards that end goal, whatever we're trying to find. And finally, as far as the free money party, thanks for the link. I'll check it out. I'm definitely really interested in learning more about that. And I tend to think about these things too. So to be continued.
Awesome, Michael. Thanks so much. Next up is Sir Roland, followed by Simon. Take it away, Sir Roland, if you'd like. You mentioned you were complete.
Yes, I'm about done. This is my last time. I want to get off this merry-go-round. Simon, I love you. Here's what's coming. In 2 years, we will have the technology and capability of holding 1,000 people virtually online for 2.5 days to create greater transformation than I've ever done in 44 countries. That's right around the corner. So let's focus on the now and immediate. Then my question is this, my friends. According to Matt Fox, you go to my blog, Google Rowan Sullivan blog. Matt Fox says we only have months to turn this around. And Delio, she is even more intense, and she says the same thing at the end of her video. We have months. You know, when we did the open space with 90 systems, 200 presenters, and 500,000 downloads of the videos, we just did that at World Unity. The time has shrunk. In that short time, from like 18 months, we're down to 10 months. And I don't give a frick what you say. Jamin, you're not going to live on that island. It's going to be dangerous. This just happened. We've had the first snowfall in California on recorded history at Pepperdine, where I went to school, in Malibu. The first snowfall. We had 40 inches of snowfall 2 weeks ago in the East Coast. Amen, hallelujah, nanda, serve, love, meditate, realize. Be good, be great.
Thank you, Sir Roland. Thank you. All right, next up is Simon.
Well, there you have it. Roland just described the vision. What's it? How many people on the call? 2,000 was it, or whatever? That's what you're building. You need this to be that platform. You don't want them all over the place. So that's your goal, to be that platform that Roland's describing. Just other quick things to mention in terms of giving yourself some momentum. You might want to highlight in your letter that you're sending it to what might be described as founder members, appeal to their ego. You might also want to say, this is very much an ongoing thing. If they can't be there at the beginning, it's going to be regular meetings. If they can't turn up to the first one, please, there'll be other occasions until they are ready. So it's not when, but if, not if rather, but when. And maybe just finally on the letter, you could put, if you've got any questions before you turn up, please get in touch.
Quick question to insert, Simon. You said something members. I heard like founder members or something.
Founder members.
Oh, founder members. Like it. Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you for that. All right. Taking it back to the top alphabetically, we've got Adam, followed by Alan, followed by Ananda. Take it away, Adam.
Hey guys. Yeah, this will probably be my my last contribution before I head off. But I'm liking the different flavors. It's strange when there's a certain kind of people that you get so used to hearing, and like there's a certain communication style that you get so used to hearing. But when I come to places like this, there seems to be a sort of like a resistance when you're talking to someone who has a completely different approach. But you've just got to be that, as Jamin was saying earlier, that in order, before people say something, before people listen, they need to be heard. It's kind of like the principle, to understand, to understand, you first need to be understood. And really, that's my last bit there.
Beautiful, love it. And I also see a sign of life from Alan, who's next up in the queue. Alan, let us know if you need a little overview of what we're doing here, or feel free to jump in. It's your turn to speak for a minute if you'd like, or ask a question.
I've just woke up, so I'm only just catching up with the last couple of minutes, basically.
All right, totally fair. So what we're doing here is we're just going around 1 minute each, going around the whole room over and over, and just sharing little ideas we have, questions, comments, additions to what are we doing here? What are we setting out to achieve, right, with ICIC, etc. So anything goes. Feel free to jump in your next turn at the wheel. And next up is Ananda, followed by Jamin. Take it away, Ananda.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think we should take into consideration the suggestions to put in the letter, like requesting people with technical knowledge and asking for feedback and that kind of thing. But here's the thing. If we're going to spin forward and see how we do in the end, the way we can measure how we're doing is to measure what we did and how we can, not how we can't. Now, I'm imagining that we're going to take this viral. In order for it to go viral, you have to, everybody tells everybody else, what we're about. At the risk of getting, the telephone game 2 or 3 down the line of things not being clear, we are co-creating wordsmithing a letter to help people pass it on. I'm imagining in a very short amount of time, there's going to be lots of people raising their hands, say, how can I help? Because everyone's talking about the urgency of this short time. The thing we can do to help people get into action and help is to give them a letter to use and send them off and let them smear it all over, so we can measure our success.
All righty. Not sure I'm crazy about the word smear after what happened.
There was a made up
I'm
word.
just kidding. Just kidding. Next up is Jamin, followed by Marco and Michael. So I first wanted to kind of build on what I was talking about earlier about the press conferences, this process where imagine this big conveyor belt of mud that's just bringing in fresh mud that we then have this, automated shaking table that does the panning for gold, right? The ultimate goal is gold, not more mud. But you got to kiss a lot of frogs in order to find the prince. You got to pan through a lot of mud in order to get the gold. So the press conference, I think, is a really great vehicle for getting more mud to come in and, to Simon's point, make people feel important, right? When you get an invitation to speak at a press conference, oh my goodness, it's like an invitation from the Queen of England. Who could say no to that? So that's the conveyor belt. The mud is what we're figuring out now. How do we shake it up? And, simplistically, we thought, okay, give everyone a chance to talk and then they can invite you to their open house. And that's where we kind of find the gold, because more people will go to the open houses that really sound attractive. And then I think for finishing school, we need some sort of an American Idol style round robin island survivor process for not for people, but for the best ideas to bubble up and really shine, and then ultimately get the billions of dollars of support or the millions of people supporting it or whatever. Okay, more to follow. And next up is Marco, followed by Michael. Marco, if you want, have a crack.
I'm going to take one more pass. Thank you.
No problem. All right, thanks, Marco. Next up is Michael, followed by Sir Roland.
Has everyone seen the movie Groundhog Day? Right? I feel like I'm a little bit in Groundhog Day. I've been on these calls for years with Jamin, and I love Jamin. I love these groups, but we've sent out viral messages before, and new people come in and then they go. I strongly believe we need more. We need something to capture people. We need a parallel system where the conversation can keep going, maybe in a different format, on some of these other chatting platforms and things. I'm active in the cryptocurrency communities. There are hundreds of projects similar to this where people have live Zoom calls like this, and then they also have other channels where it lets the momentum keep going. Unless people might drop off the call and then they can keep going somewhere else and keep chatting. It's just like, because I think if we bring people in, we need other places for this to expand and land into. Okay.
Oh, I was actually giving a virtual applause. You have 15 more seconds if you want.
I think I got the point across.
Oh, no, you totally did. Really good point. Thank you, Michael. All right. Next up is Sir Roland, followed by Simon. Sir Roland, if you want.
Yes. Well, I just heard I liked. I'm going now. I'm going to go meditate. And I trust the process. Go, do it. God love, Godspeed. And we're getting Jamin involved in Nexus 4. The top most positive 100 change makers in the world. Researched by students from Penn State. Okay? And we're going to invite Jamin to the second 100. And Ananda, you should be involved with this too, because it gives you a publishing place virtually. The day of writing books is over. And so we're doing great things with Steve Cady, and we're going to do a conference coming up with Mike Beer from Harvard. He's the #1 expert on transformation of top teams. He wants to come because he finally freaking heard me. I says, but you're not dealing with the whole system. Now he is. I have whole system transformation. He calls it transformation of the whole system. Amen. Alleluia. None deserve, love, meditate. Realize, be good, be great, be fabulous. Hare Krishna. I'm gone.
Thank you,
Roland,
Sir
we love
Roland.
you.
Love you, Sir Roland. Have a great meditation, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. All right. Next up is Simon, followed by Adam. Take it away, Simon.
I think this process has been great and it serves its purpose. I think pretty much thoughts out. Bit concerned about Roland's idea of 100 world foremost change makers in the one room. That's an invitation to a lot of egos potentially. That could be interesting. But yeah, I'm very happy for you guys to crack on with this letter and send it. And I would just add that it's not a big deal, is it? I mean, if this is like the very beginning of what you're talking about, I just invited a couple of mates along, and I like to think they contributed this evening.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right, looks like Adam dropped off. So Alan is up next, followed by Ananda. And no pressure, Alan. It's okay to take a pass as well.
Yeah, still waking up and all good stuff so far. No inspirations yet.
All right, very good, very good. Yeah, collective intelligence at work. Yes, Simon.
Just an interruption. I'm gonna have to make a room. It says it's 9 o'clock here in the UK, 9 o'clock at night. So I've had a long day. So catch up with you on Thursday.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you so much for being here, Simon. Really love your contributions.
My pleasure, it's great.
And I'm going to pause for a second.
So do feel free to interrupt me.
No, we're recording, and I love what you just said about that bringing people into a state of playfulness, like a game, like the 1 minute round robin that we were doing earlier, is super powerful to open up people's minds. I just wanted to capture that and help get them out of this, oh, I'm right, and you all need to listen to me. If we get into a place of play, like kids at a playground, we just open up and we have fun and we're enjoying each other and appreciating each other. Absolutely love what you're saying. Keep it coming, Eric. Go ahead.
Are you familiar with polyvagal theory? Have you heard about this?
Polyvagal?
Polyvagal, V-A-G-A-L.
No. Polyvagal. I'll put it in the chat. Polyvagal.
I'll find something relevant to it in a minute, but I came across it, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. And the basic premise of the theory is that there is a nerve which runs from our brain down our spine, connects lots of things together. It connects the heart to the face to the brain. And so the point being that it is a bridge between our emotions and our physiology, right? That it mediates between these two things, and that the vagal system, when open, you can see it in people's face. The people can feel it in their hearts, right? That these things are all connected together. When people are closed off, when they are fearful, when they feel threatened, when they feel they're not being listened to, defensive for whatever reason, all of this kind of thing, they shut down. And once again, you can see it in their face. And there are physiological responses which go along with this, right? Hormonal messages from the brain. And there is no possibility of engaging in meaningful discourse with someone when they are in that state, right? And so creating spaces where this is open, right? Where people are curious and open, and that is a prerequisite to any meaningful discussion taking place. Otherwise, you're just beating your head against a wall, right?
Beautiful, beautiful. By the way, I was doing a silent applause. That's
Yeah, no, I understand. I don't do much of the hand gesture stuff myself, but I do.
One second, I need to listen to my partner here for a sec. I'll be right back. Okay, thanks, Eric. No, that is so brilliant. In fact, I'd like to include that in what we're co-creating here. And anyway, yeah, please carry on.
Well, it's very nice to have the floor because I mean, I've been thinking about this stuff a lot, right? Exactly this kind of stuff of how to create coherent groups that can make decisions effectively, swiftly, efficiently, meaningfully, with a wide variety of perspectives being included and processed and distilled to come to a thing, right? Well, what are the starting points? What are the processes? How do you know that you've got there? You know, all of these kinds of things. How do you resolve conflicts as they come along? Reframing conflict not as a dispute, as things to be avoided, right, and to be shied away from, but actually as opportunities for learning. Let me show you a picture captures the idea really perfectly. Give me 1 second and I'll find it. You should take a look at our website as well. I think you'd really like what there is on there. You should take a look at the Money Free Party, at the Money Free Party website.
What's the URL again? Money Free Party?
moneyfreeparty.uk.
.uk. Just like that. Okay. I
Just
put it in the
UK,
chat.
yeah. Not co
Okay.
UK, just
Yeah.
.uk.
There we go.
Oh, in fact, you know what? I know where it definitely is. Sorry, I've got so many pictures in my library. I struggle sometimes to find the one I'm looking for. I'm sure you know the feeling, sir.
Oh, yes.
Ah, there it is. There it is. It's actually not quite the one I was looking for, but it's good enough. I've got another one of these, which is actually slightly better, but anyway. Could you allow me to screen share possibly just for a
Oh,
moment?
yeah. I made you co-host, so you can do that.
Oh, you did already? Okay, jolly good.
Yeah.
Jolly good. Yeah, you did before. I bet that would have gone away when I came back. Yeah, do you see what I mean? And so I think this captures the idea really nice. If you're looking from the end, you see a circle. If you're looking from the side, you see a square, right? And you're both right. You're both right, and yet you are in complete disagreement with each other. Yeah, and if you can enter into a meaningful dialogue, then you can figure out, oh, hang on a minute, we are both right, but we're also both wrong. We're only seeing a limited part of this. This is a three-dimensional object, not a two-dimensional object. But you could never, ever come to this realization, either of you on your own, right? Either of you on your own sees a circle or a square. Only when you have the conflict and resolve it do you realize the deeper truth of the third dimension, right? And so, you know, the ability to resolve conflicts in that kind of manner, right, where you are constantly uncovering new truths, not just stopping people fighting, but actually using it as a generative process, then I think you're really onto something, because conflict's going to come up all the time. And rather than, you know, oh, say sorry to each other and shake hands kind of thing, which really solves nothing, you can actually get to it.
Brilliant. You know, if I can comment on that image you've got up on the screen, I would say in both cases, both the person who could swear it's a circle and the other who swears it's a square, through the process of I think of it as thesis, antithesis, and then synthesis. The synthesis process is where they come together on a higher plane. And in this case, the higher plane represents, for both parties, here's the drum roll, a dimensional enhancement on what they were looking at before. I swear,
a hitherto unknown layer of reality, right, for both of them, to send a shiver down the spine, right, is what this thing sort of should do. Yeah.
That's it. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's a dimensional enhancement. I thought I was looking at something flat. It turns out it's 3D. Now that I see the dimensionally enhanced reality, with a chuckle as I say reality, because we're always groping for this thing called reality, right? In reality, that thing may be a 17-dimensional object, and we're just looking at a 3-dimensional projection, a projection onto a 3D plane, hyperplane, if you will.
Well,
But
that's
anyway,
assuming that there is some kind of reality that has any meaningful existence independent of being observed and interacted with, right? You know, who knows? Who knows?
yeah, totally. Like, show me the reality behind the curtain, and then you know. But anyway, but in both cases, I think a dimensional enhancement is a very powerful intellectual tool to be cognizant of, because it basically opens up to the mind the possibility that there's something bigger out there than just the projection that I'm seeing.
And there's always something bigger than my current understanding, right? That however accurate my perspective, however truthful my perspective may be, however right it may be, it is never, ever, ever complete, right? It can always be augmented, it can always be added to. And I think that embodying that understanding into the way that we interact with each other is one of the really key things, right? Understanding that everyone, however much they may irritate you, however much you may think they're an idiot, right? However much you may think they're wrong, almost all the time, they've got something. They've got a piece that you do not have, that is important, right? Everyone has a piece that you don't have, and it's an important piece, and it's your job to create the circumstances whereby that piece can emerge.
Exactly.
So how do we
Wow.
do that then? How do we do that then, Jamin? Yeah, we can figure that out. Then we can really change the world.
Totally. And that's really what we're figuring out here together is, you know, and part of the figuring out, since you mentioned that, you know, there's a number of other groups that you're talking with, you know, part of the figuring out is bringing these different groups together and having exactly the kind of playful conversation that you helped us set up some hours back, and that really blossomed. I mean, we recorded the vast majority of it up until, I don't know, maybe an hour ago or so. We went off recording, and so it's really taken us to some fascinating places. I'm happy to recap some of those if that'd be valuable. You know, would that be of interest? I have a feeling.
If you think they're valuable insights worth recapping, yeah. I mean, don't just do it for the sake of it. But if there's stuff that you think was really worthwhile, that's worth mentioning, then yeah, please do.
No. You're one of my new favorite people, Eric. And just so you know, I've been doing this basically in one form or another for the past. I feel almost embarrassed to admit it. For the past going on 7 years of saying, hey, let's get together and talk. And how do we solve the world's biggest problems, which have only become more urgent in the past 7 years? So really, I'm super digging talking with you. And so just to give a little bit of a recap of some of the elements that we've been talking about, and this is a very Jamin-centric recap, admittedly, but you know, one of the elements in this intentional city in the clouds that we're co-creating, that's been successful, that we've created and run in the past, is a press conference. And we first launched, it's called thepressconference.org. Here, I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat so you've got it. Here, in fact, I'll screen share briefly as well, because I think that'd be very valuable, just so you get a visual of it. I assume you weren't here for that part of the conversation where I screen shared this. Okay.
No. No, I left before the end of the game.
Oh yeah. Actually, you left when it was still pretty early in the game, because we kept at it for a while. So the idea of the press conference is there are so many people that have so many valuable things to share, right? Represented by these speech balloons. And so on November 19th, 2020, we got together, and there's like 5 recordings that encompass something like 8 hours or so of meeting. part one was the kind of sort of opening speeches, opening, etc. Then we dove into the idea was that different folks would share for about 2 minutes each on whatever their idea was. So I'll just run through some of them. So Kiko Lab, Charlie and Lauren run this really cool thing. It's a collective intelligence co-laboratory. Sherry shared Today I Choose. Dr. Don Pett, Creating a Better Self, A Happy World, and the Genie seminars that he runs. Dan Bader talked about exponential climate change, immoral depopulation strategies, and COVID-19. So it's like everyone came here. Let me get back on the screen share for a second, just so I can. The basic idea was, I said, look, and this came out of a big insight that I had, which is that people are not ready to listen until they feel they've been heard. And to map that to the game that you led us on earlier, I would say that people are not ready to play unless they're fully staked in the game, right? People don't want to be just sitting on the sideline, slurping on a Coke and just watching and their brain going to mush. They want to feel like they're really staked in the game. Right. So I said, and I had tried for years communicating, sometimes successfly, and other times not, but communicating the urgency of certain things and actions that needed to be taken. And I was pounding my head against the wall. Why aren't people listening? Why aren't we getting more support for this or that? And it finally dawned on me that, and over the course of last year, 2020, that everyone has something to say. Everyone has something that they think is the most urgent thing that you need to listen to. So rather than resist that and say, hey, shut up, and listen to me, how well would that message go over? Hey, I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, you have something to say too? Hey, I want to hear that. Not only do I want to hear it, I want to help you project that to the world.
Exactly. Not only do I want to hear it, but here's a stage to get up on and tell all these people about it too.
Exactly. And so we created the press conference, and we had something like 80 time slots that were booked. Now, some of those speakers booked 2 or 3 time slots, and that's fine, but there were over 50 people who were booked, probably closer to 60.
What kind of audience did you get for it?
Well, the interesting thing is the audience itself consisted of the speakers. Now, we also streamed live on Facebook, and we had some people kind of echoing the message and getting it out there, but the main audience,
right? So everyone, so it was basically a 50-person glass bead game where some people took 1 turn, some people took 2 turns, and some people took 3 turns. They were just long turns, right? So essentially it was that, yeah. Because this is the thing, that this is the beauty. This is another great thing about the glass bead game, is that you can format it any way you want. Turns can be any length, can be any format, can be written, can be poetry, can be images, can be spoken snippets on WhatsApp. You know what I mean? It can be anything you want, any number of players, and it's just because it strips the notion of game down to its most basic element. Players take turns. That's it. It's the only rule, is players take turns. Everything else you can fiddle about with, right? It's the essence of any game, right? Is that players take turns. There is some kind of order of play.
Wow, I love it. I'm writing that down right now. The only rule, players take turns. Love it.
I mean, when we play in glass bead game sessions, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more. So what we do is we explore abstract concepts, like death and life and love and human and cosmos and stuff like this, right? And we use tarot cards and we use arcane stuff, right? And we play around with all of this sort of very esoteric, out there kind of stuff. And we there's 2 things we try and do apart from the taking of turns. We try and use language which stays away from the ego. So no personal pronouns, right? You structure your language in such a way as to avoid the use of I and you, which is not so difficult. You stumble when you're first doing it, right? You find yourself doing it and catch yourself and go, ah, shit. But after a while, you get used to it. And the other thing is the attentive listening, right? It's also an exercise in listening. And so being completely present to what the other person is saying, not filing away in your own head what you're going to say during your turn, which is the temptation and what we all find ourselves tending to do. But really, this is the practice, right? This is the practice part of it, is really being present to what the person is saying and what is coming up in you as they are saying it, and then trusting that when the clock comes round to you, that what needs to be said will be said. The idea is you are a humble vessel through which that which needs to be spoken is spoken, right? It's not you speaking, you are a part of the collective fulfilling your portion of the collective, if you know what I mean. Yeah, so the humble vessel thing is really important.
Wow, love it. Love it. Wow. Wow. Incredible. Wow. And
well, this is the foundation of collective intelligence, right? It's this notion that there is a thing of which you are all a part, but it is bigger than all of you. And that's the foundational notion behind a collective intelligence, right?
That's it. That's it. Wow. Wow. My goodness. Yeah, it was just transformational. We hadn't done it with that discipline before. And I had, we had kind of time blocks where we'd do it up until maybe like 5 minutes each, but by then it just gets a little bit tedious. I really like the 1 minute turnaround. Yeah, that worked. That was just perfect. And in fact, one of the ways that the press conference broke down a bit, overall, it was a huge success. But one of the ways that it broke down is that some people started taking longer than 2 minutes. And then the next person, because we have this notion of fairness and all that, all right, if I had to sit there and listen for 5 minutes, well, damn it, I'm going to talk for...
Then I'm going to do 10. Yeah.
No, I'm serious. And it just, and then...
oh, no, I get it, mate. I totally understand. People are fucking annoying. Yeah, no, I know. What can, yeah.
No.
And these are the kind of people that want to give talks at a press conference like this, right? These are like, horrible word, but these are the best people, right? These are not just, this is not the rabble. These are the best people. They still can't fucking do it.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's hard. But these little bits of discipline, I'll tell you what else it has taught. You wouldn't believe it from the amount I've been talking, but it's a real play. I'm a teacher, right? And I don't get to teach very much anymore because I left my job and sold up and moved to the countryside, right? And live in the middle of nowhere now. But and so these situations where I'm telling you stuff that you don't already know that you're really excited about. Yeah, it's such a pleasure for me to be in that position.
Wow.
That's why I'm talking so much.
Good. Well, you have a very eager pupil here. Wow. No, fantastic. And I mean, we were centering the conversation around, what are we trying to create here? What are we trying to co-create here? And little did we know, I think the answer is fast becoming a vessel for precisely this that you're describing, right? And that we had a really successful first go at with the press conference, modulo the melting down that I was mentioning a little bit before. But among the elements that, we were covering were, the element of urgency, how much time do we have, exponential climate change, et cetera, Extinction Rebellion, finding your tribe, filling this community with the right kind of people. And you had a really good point. What are we creating here that's new, right? And part of the answer to that was the press conference, actually. That was actually a new thing. Another thing that's new here is this channel is actually, I call it almost 24/7. And we've actually gone literally months on end without this conversation ever going dark. We've had lots and lots of people coming and going, and at times hundreds of people.
Yeah, I mean, this is
another. The other thing is,
sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Well, no,
please
while
interject.
you're talking about that, no, it's actually worth interjecting here, because this is another balance that needs to be struck, right? Is the balance between that openness and freedom to pop in whenever you want, to talk about whatever you want, but also, because that alone is just it's a fucking mess, right? You just never know when anyone's going to be there. So there also needs to be structure, right? There you need to find somehow, again, and I'm not saying I have answers to these, but I'm just saying it's something that needs to be thought about and tinkered with and experimented with. And there's no final answer, right, to what is this thing and how are we doing it and how does it work and what are the structures and blah, blah, blah. This is a constantly evolving conversation. This is not right. Okay, that's it. We sorted it out. Let's write it all down. And that's what we're doing from now on. That's what we do now, right? That's what game A is a whole bunch of written down rules that we all have to follow. That's not the way forward. Emergent, constant conversation, constantly emerging, you know. Some things hang around because they're useful over long periods of time. Other things disappear very quickly because actually, you know what, this is a much better way of doing this. And so even though we've only been doing it like this for 3 months, we're still going to do it this way because this is a much better way, right? And we're not married to this because we haven't built up huge institutions around it, which have to maintain themselves. You know what I mean? There's that fluidity of the only constant is change, right? And being there to accept and adopt those changes and integrate them. There we go. That was the word I was looking for.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm
Beautiful,
sorry.
beautiful.
I do get carried away sometimes when I get on my little soapbox. I do apologize for doing it. I try and stop myself. Glass bead game has made me somewhat better, but I still am prone to it.
No. It's much appreciated. And I'm just, again, really, really psyched for all this. So, so I was talking about the press conference, the conversation, which is 24/7. Thanks largely to Alan. Yes, Alan, jump in.
I was just going to say, Alan's woken up.
And if you don't mind putting on your headset, Alan, that we'll hear you much better.
Keep forgetting about that. I just wanted to say to Eric, that's fantastic. I really like what you're saying. I'd like to nominate you as world president.
Instead of Donald Trump,
talk about it. It's another thing to make it work. It's one thing I've realized. It's one thing to talk about it. I've studied a lot. I've listened to a lot of very clever people talk about all of this kind of stuff, you know, practitioners in their fields and so on. And the doing and the talking about it they're a million miles apart. You know, you need people to really engage and be willing to work and be willing to look foolish and be willing to lose their shit and have to come back contrite and be forgiven. And all of this kind of shit has to be. And it's hard online to do that, right? I mean, it's hard to do that in your real life with people that you've known for years. It's hard to do it then. And it's to build a community around that kind of openness and vulnerability is extremely difficult. It fails a million times more often than it succeeds.
Wow, brilliant. So I was just doing a little kind of inventory of some of the points. So one is we have this thing called the press conference. It was a success. And again, the webpage there, it's got a lot of cool stuff, including when I first learned to do these powerful press conferences, which was working side by side with former Mexican President Vicente Fox. And I can play an excerpt for you a little later if you want, but we changed the course of history with one press conference in 2013. So the press conference, the conversation 24/7, the space, and which in a way is sort of a church of conversation where, you know, everyone is welcome. And we yes, go ahead, Eric. Mm-hmm.
I'm really sorry to interrupt you again, but it just occurs to me that maybe that's what we're about, at least for now. The ICIC is about building up to that press conference, right? I mean, that's an actual thing with an actual date. We can get actual people doing actual things. And you're not trying to do everything, right? You're not trying to do everything. You got a very, that strikes me as something that, you know, people who have things to contribute will jump on. I think if you can actually organize it to get exposure, and again, I don't mean to be cynical, but the gated institutional media, if I assume you know what I mean about that. So yeah, the gated institutions of narrative control aren't going to let this kind of thing be broadcast over their networks to billions of people, to billions of their citizens, right? And so to get
Never,
really
never.
meaningfully large audience is another very difficult thing. I'm not saying it can't be done, but the promotion it's because you're competing against a lot of noise out there, so much noise out there.
No, I have no illusions about that, which is why, but having had these just home run successes with President Vicente Fox, and again, I'll show you an excerpt in a little bit, but also, of course, respecting your time. I'm here quite a bit, by the way. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays are my big days in the week when you can find me here. And that's another secret to my success, or our success, is predictability, reliability. So
well, as the group grows, what you can do is you can have somebody here at all times, right? You can that should be another fairly immediate goal, is to build up enough of a community here that someone or a couple of people, because it'd be boring to sit here on your own, right? To have at least someone here to talk to. So at least 2 people here at all times, right? And figure out how to do that. So
well,
that
we
anyone who
essentially
wants to drop in knows. Sorry, go on.
we achieved that towards the second half of last year. We went probably a couple of months without the room going dark once. And you see Marco, whose image is in the screen. He's been needing some rest lately, and he's been carrying a lot on his own. But Marco and Alan in Scotland, and Christopher in Canada, and Jimena in Mexico, and then it's kind of like a long tail distribution. But I'm mentioning the folks at the head of the distribution. They really kept this thing alive for months on end, and so we're building on that success.
Yeah.
So,
it just shouldn't it shouldn't have to fall on the hands of so few people, right? It should.
No.
Tasks that are much better distributed. Unless
exactly.
they want to, of course. I mean, if they're happy doing it and they want to, then good luck to them, right? I mean, there's room for all sorts. You know what I mean?
Totally. And Marco and Christopher, and now increasingly Alan, are kind of have kind of fallen into that category, and more power to them. For me, partly for my life balance and family happiness and all that, I've just staked out 3 days that I really go to town, and the other days I take a break. But I really like your idea of the ICIC building towards the press conference, and which is something I've had a lot of success in, both with President Vicente Fox years ago, and then more recently with this one.
I like the idea of a press conference. Assuming you can get an audience and you can get some speakers that will attract an audience, then I think it's I think has the potential to be super powerful if it's done right. Absolutely.
Well,
I could get on board. I could get on board with that.
Well, for the 10 weeks prior to November 19th, I pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, and I just got everyone to come, right? And they came, and the audience was the presenters.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have an audience beyond the presenters, though, right? Like a nice, decent-sized audience beyond the presenters, and people then making clips of it and putting it up on their YouTube channels and talking about it and inviting speakers onto their YouTube channels to talk about their ideas more and blah blah blah. If it could be something like, I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, I tend to set lofty goals and fall short of them. I find that, so I live a life of primarily disappointment.
Hey, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world. But in fact, one of my favorite mottos is often wrong, but never in doubt.
Yeah.
So
forever in doubt as well. Forever in doubt. I'm never sure. I'm never really sure of anything. But that's okay. That's okay. I'm happy with that. I think as soon as you're sure of things, you're closed off to learning new things about it, right? And so yeah, I'm quite happy with that.
Exactly. All right, Alan's back with his hand up. Go for it, Alan.
Yeah. So where are you? You're a Scotsman. I'm guessing from the
Scotland.
accent, Alan. You're a Scotsman.
Just thinking about Eric's picture of the circle and the square, 2 completely opposite shapes, and yet that cylinder being the reality. When you think of like the actual people who've got organizations, already got millions of followers and donations, and they've already got these organizations making change and trying to unite them. And also we kind of put in a category of we've got these ones that we don't like the governments who are making a mess of it and everything else. even that is like the circle and the square kind of scenario, because there's good and bad in everything. You got all these conspiracy theories of the Illuminati or the secret organization trying to take over the world, but I'll bet you that every single individual person, even if they are part of some kind of out of control movement that's doing something like that, if that was real, are still in their heart, they're trying to make genuine change. They're trying to help people. They feel within themselves that their idea is the best idea, and it's this, they're doing it because they're genuinely trying to help people. So they're the square to the circle, but even them. So like not so looking at one organization who's making changes. Oh, they never want to join us. They're out of the picture. We don't like them. Even the corporations and the governments and everything else, we should be writing to them and get everybody on board and say, look, we're all saying the same thing. We all want world peace, or we all want no more war. We all want the children to be educated and fed and no more starvation, no water for everyone, sanitation for everyone. We all want the same things. But I just all think that in order to do it, you've got to do this. I mean, maybe Bill Gates is this character who wants to sterilize the world and depopulate it, but maybe he thinks that that's a brilliant idea because, you know, maybe he focuses so much on the overpopulation. I don't know. The conspiracy theories, you don't know what's real. You've never actually met these people in person and heard their voice, but when you actually speak to a person, I see where you're coming from. Basically, yeah, so the circle and the square, but you can look at the overall whole perspective. We probably all agree on some basic things. So if we could get everybody to agree, just to agree, find a way for everybody to agree on a platform of agreement with no agendas, just, but we all agree that we should all work together on this. We all agree on that. We don't know where we're going, but we agree. That's the starting point. The end.
I love it. I love it. No, and I think some combination between, Eric, your glass bead game, if I got the name correctly, and I don't know if you've heard of the World Cafe process, which sounds
Yeah,
Mhm.
I have.
That's kind of a way to
It's
make
a
it
little bit like
scalable.
open space, isn't it? It's the World Cafe. It's a bit like open space. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Well,
Yeah, I'm not so crazy about open spaces if I've understood the term correctly, having participated in a bit of it, but I may not really get the right concept of it. But open spaces, you kind of migrate around. World
that's right.
Cafe,
Yeah.
yeah. World Cafe is kind of more like clockwork, where, you know,
You
20
get moved
minutes,
around. Yeah.
you get moved around. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's better, because I think with open spaces you have a situation where you get a lot of listeners, and then their ego starts to get pumped up because now they've got an audience because they're Charles Eisenstein or they're, you know,
if you constrain it with a timer and a glass bead game format, that all goes away, right? I mean, it's so fucking cool, honestly, because there's no reason you can't use glass bead game format in open space or anything. You just have a constant 1 minute clock running. As you come into the room, you figure out where you are in the circle and you just wait your turn and you dive in, or you pass because you have no idea what's going on, and you know, so yeah, there's no reason that can't be applied.
No, I love it. I'm telling you, it's like my new favorite thing is this. Seriously,
a lot of people have that reaction to the game when they first play it. It's very, very common to have that reaction.
Wow. Okay, so I think we're really onto something here. And so, and in fact, perhaps you could sort of think about it as, you know, AAA football league, whatever it's called, first division, second division, junior division, right? Feeder team, high school team, all the way down to the 12-year-olds, right? With the young Pelés screwing around in Santos, Brazil. One of the feeders could be just this game. Hey, everyone's welcome. Come into the game. And as we kick stuff around, oh, you two, hey, listen, why don't we sign up for the next press conference? And then they go up to the junior league kind of thing. Okay, now, whoa, there's a few hundred people in the stadium here watching us, right?
You could even select the contributors to the press conference as they emerge from the playing of games, right? Like the better players in the game can be upvoted or whatever, some sort of system of up regulation and down regulation, and those that emerge are the ones that prepare something for the press conference, and external speakers as well, right? There's external speakers can still be invited, but there would be some places for, yeah, from the community, right? For people to emerge from the community. Again, if they want to, no one's forcing them, right? You know, an opportunity if you wish. Just go, Alan. I don't know if you're still watching. I hope you're still watching, because I'm just gonna play a really short video of a clip from a speech of JFK. It reminded me of it when you were talking. It reminded me of this. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I need to share sound as well. Just a second.
Oh yeah, we do that all the time.
Destiny is beyond human beings. Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable, and we believe they can do it again. And if we cannot end now our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal.
That's it, right?
Beautiful.
We're all going to die. We're all here for a very short time. We all love our kids. We all want clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, decent food to eat, somewhere warm and dry to sleep. You know, that's all we fucking want, really. And the rest of it, you can just let people crack on. You know, that's it. That's it. It is that simple.
Wow. Yeah, and what he said was profound. We may not be able to resolve our differences right away, but at least let's create a space for diversity, which is what we're doing right here with Glass Bead, with the press conference, etc. In fact, one of my colleagues, Peter Melton, with whom we co-founded The Conversation, the 24/7 conversation, which gave rise to a lot of this, is he said, let's call it the People's Press Conference. And so with that screams of, lower division, but more people can come in. Yes, Eric. Mm-hmm.
No. I was thinking because I don't particularly like that name, and I was just thinking what would I rather call this press conference? The People's Press Conference is just in a lot of people's minds. It will smack of communism, right? It will smack of Marxism,
and here in the United States, it would smack of unwashed hippies in a park, all scratching each other's butts.
So I was just turning my eyes upwards because I was seeking in wherever it is we seek for these things.
Yeah, but it was more the spirit of it, the idea of it. But
yeah. No, that's what I mean. I like the spirit. It's just the name is going to evoke bad things in people's minds, and so how can we capture that spirit with a better word? That's what I was thinking. Right. My objection was not to the notion, was to the word.
Totally. So then we went in the other direction. So we've kind of tried different things to come back to the original name to really know it for the first time, right? So we strayed away from the People's Press Conference. When we took it in the other direction, do you know what professional media people call a press conference? They've got a shortened name for it.
Summit.
Presser. It's just an abbreviation. Presser.
Yeah, no, I don't like that. Don't like that.
No, I don't like it either. But for a while, I got a little bit excited about it. I started floating around, but the feedback I got, very powerful, from this powerful woman in Mumbai, India, Malini, who's participated quite a bit here. She said, Jamin, everyone loves the press conference. If you put that out there, everyone gets it.
I don't hate the press conference. I don't hate that. That's got a certain something about it. I don't hate that.
Well, it's got singularity. It says, hey, this is
and it sounds like it's important. It sounds like you shouldn't miss it. It's important. Yeah. No, I don't hate it. I don't hate that at all.
Totally. I mean, it's just like
anything better. I would be prepared to go along with it. I don't love it, but I could live with it. I suspect you put that out there, and people will come up with some amazing ideas.
So I think we've got a really good. I think we've got a really good anchor, which is the press conference, and then we just find a way to take it up a notch, which could be under the same brand, but kind of like deluxe edition. Obviously not words like that, but just conveying the sentiment, right? where it becomes, you know, how do we make it sort of like a round robin sort of American Idol Survivor style? How do we bubble the best ideas up to the top of the
Yeah, well,
pyramid?
that's the thing. That's what you want to model in this press conference, is the process of exploration, casting a wide net, right? Casting a really wide net in the exploration, and then from that wide net, from all of that, you distill out the nuggets that emerge, and modeling that process, right? So that the process itself is not just what emerges from the process, but the process itself is also on display. That would be fucking cool if that could be done. Yeah, and so what we need, sorry, but this is sort of coming together in what's crystallizing in my head now. So there's 3 dimensions to this. One is figuring out who's going to actually present at the press conference, right? And what the format of the thing is going to be, and how long each person is going to speak for, and how many rooms there's going to be, and blah, 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 where it's going to be, and all of that kind of stuff. The other thing is getting the audience, right? Marketing the thing, promoting it, and getting the word out there so that when the day comes, there's going to be lots and lots and lots and lots of people watching it. That is thing number 2. And then thing number 3 is the real-time mapping of the event itself, so that the audience can see what's going on room by room, session by session, and a more meta view of the process, right? How the process is unfolding as each of these things takes place, how some larger process also unfolds. Somehow that needs to be visualized and mapped so that the audience can follow that also. Now, if all of that could be done, that would be fucking awesome, especially if you get big speakers with big names that would attract lots of people. You know, you get Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and you get Charles Eisenstein and you get Daniel Schmachtenberger and you get, you know, these kinds of people to come and talk. This would be fucking awesome. Lots of people would tune in and listen to that.
No, and the thing is, if we reach out to those big ticket, big names, right, and we say, listen, press conference, 5 minutes, we want you to be a keynote. I mean, I got two of the people I got.
Is that what you're thinking? 5 minutes? Is that what you're thinking? They get 5 minutes each?
Well, you know, let me tell you more thoroughly what I'm thinking. I'm thinking pyramid. So at the bottom, maybe we've got 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Once you kind of graduate up from that, and you've shown that there's some interest, there's some traction, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, 10, 20, 20.
I see. And fewer people doing it at each level kind of thing, until you've got like a panel of experts, whatever, who sit around for 3 hours and have an open discussion or whatever. Yeah, okay, I get the sort of picture you're thinking.
And then the grand prize of billionaire rebellion, which is a concept I just hatched up yesterday, where basically there are a number of billionaires. See, I worked at Microsoft. I was corporate strategy manager, so I got to work directly with Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer, you know, Ray Ozzie, just all the top names of the company, who were a lot of the top people in the industry. And so I know a number of billionaires, and there's a number of billionaires who are starting to break ranks with the mold that has been created for them by Rockefeller and Carnegie and others in history. Bill Gates, notably, for decades, you know, was in the spotlight, and they're starting to say, wait a second here, you know, it's really nice being at the top of the heap, but there's Titanic is soon.
Yeah, there's going to be no
heap soon. And so they're starting to, some of them are starting to teeter on the verge of breaking ranks. Others are starting to break ranks. And so we're creating a movement out of this called billionaire rebellion, right? So we're getting these rebel billionaires to come together. And
it's an interesting idea. It's an interesting idea, especially if you've got contacts in that domain. Then this is a excuse me, a potentially very interesting idea. Excuse me. I read your email about the disagreement that you and Ananda have over this issue, and I sort of see both sides of it. I really do. I very much see both sides of this argument, and kind of agree with both sides, right? I mean, I think it's one of those square circle situations, right, where I think both of these things are right, and there is maybe a higher synthesis to be reached here in this discussion. So yeah, I mean, my sense of it is that if their intent is authentic and sincere to actually bring about meaningful change, in the sense that agglomeration of the wealth of the type that they currently have would be impossible, right? That the playing field would simply not allow for that. It's just not possible within the constraints of the playing field, right? That the playing field would be fundamentally changed to the degree where such things were no longer possible. Would they? Are they earnestly participating in trying to bring that about, or do they recognize that this playing field is fucked and they're just trying to create a new playing field so that they can reassume a similar kind of position in the hierarchy as they currently have? And I think knowing where their intentions lie is impossible, right? Is impossible. And even if they think their intention is number one, most likely their actual intention is number two, because that is what they know, right? And we all tend to gravitate towards and try and make things what we know and what we're comfortable with. So I don't know, but that said, if you could harness the resources and capacities they have at their disposal, that would be unbelievably valuable. And so perhaps it's worth taking the risk. I don't know. Like I said, I'm on the fence.
Yeah, and we never have to actually resolve it definitively. And in a sense, the synthesis, the cylinder in the middle of the reality, right, is that even if we were to self-fund from only, change makers, non-billionaire change makers, the best ideas are going to spill out onto the street anyway. And some billionaires, whether their intention is to make more money or simply help save life on Earth or whatever their intent, they'll end up funding some of those ideas anyway, right? So the synthesis is, it's yes, both a circle and a square. So let's just get over it and get on with it. But part of where I'm going with this is, as we do this as sort of like this round robin process, where there is real, not social mobility, but intellectual mobility. So the people at the top of the pyramid aren't just the, incredibly articulate Daniel Schmachtenbergers and well-read Charles Eisensteins and folks like that, but the 17-year-old Pakistani kid who came up with a brilliant idea and started off at the bottom.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Those people also need to be in there. Absolutely. They're inspiring people. They absolutely need to be in there.
I mean, look at Pele's trajectory. In a year, in 18 months, he went from some muddy little village kicking around mangoes, right, to the whatever you call it, the teenage team of Santos that wasn't even on the map, and then he got up to junior, and then Santos, and then national team. Next thing you know, he's in freaking Sweden, right, scoring a hat trick against France, tying with the Soviet Union, and then bam, beating Sweden on their home field. 18 months. So we need the Pele effect, but with ideas, not soccer balls, right? And I think so. That's our goal, and I think we've got a really great articulation of it now, right? By the way, if you guys haven't seen the movie Pele, just called Pele, it came out of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think I have seen it a while ago, but yeah, I have seen it.
No, it's so inspiring. So
not
inspiring.
Recent, right? Yeah. Not recent. You're talking a fairly old film, yeah.
5 years ago, something like that. 5, 6.
Yeah, it feels like it might have been longer ago than that. Anyway, whatever.
Well, if you haven't seen the most recent,
it might not be this one that I've seen, is what I'm thinking. It might be some other documentary that I've seen.
Yeah, totally. Anyway, no, but it wasn't a documentary. This was a dramatization. Way better than any documentary. They nailed it. They even had a cameo appearance of the actual Pele in it, which speaks volumes. But anyway, I'll even play an excerpt for you if you hang around long enough.
I'm going to push back on way better than any documentary. I've seen some really fucking good documentaries, but anyway.
Oh no! Hey, no, I haven't seen them all, so I'm sure there's some. No, I'm sure there's some great ones. No, point taken. And I'm a big football fan, especially international style, because that's when you really see
it's gratifying to hear you calling it football with your North American accent. Where are you from? Why are you calling it football?
When in Rome, speak like the Romans. When in Rome, speak Italian. But anyway,
no, it's just that when you say football with an American accent, I hear gridiron, right? That's because
sure.
I've accustomed myself to that with Americans.
Sure. Yeah. No, but anyway, I lived in Spain in 82, 83 during a very formative period of my life. And I have Spanish relatives. My grandmother was Spanish. So, and then I ended up living 5 years in Mexico, also very formative years. So I'm definitely not your average American. In fact, I far prefer Mexican culture to American culture, which we'll get to the President Fox story in a little bit. But I think we've got a model for this, which is the Pele trajectory. We want to create the Pele trajectory for the Pakistani kid to make it to the top and be in a meeting with Charles Eisenstein and Daniel Schmachtenberger and say, look, I figured it out. Here's what we need to do. And those two guys, their jaws drop and say, holy shit, who is this kid? Where did he come from? Right.
That would be great.
That's our image of success. That's our image of success. That's the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, because those ideas are out there and those people are out there. And once people see that Pele can do it, right, suddenly every Brazilian is playing soccer and they won.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I mean, I've long thought that Russell Brand would. He's a bit of a narcissist, but owns his narcissism, right? He's completely up front and makes jokes about it all the time. But it is real also, right? It's Anyway, he gets it. He would be a good front man. He's got a big following. He's not afraid of the spotlight. He knows exactly what it's like to be ganged up on by the gated institutional narrative. He's been there before. He knows exactly what it's like to have them turn on him. So it would, there'd be no dark surprises in store for him. He knew exactly what he was getting into. So yeah, he'd be an excellent front man in the UK. I mean, I really think this is why I've been putting so much time into it. And I'm really glad to have met Simon, because he too has been really dedicated to it, is getting this money-free party thing up and running. Because whatever else anyone else is doing in terms of being a change maker, and this is something I'd really like to stress in this group as well, whatever anyone else is up to, continue to get up to it, right? This is not instead of, but join up with the money-free party, right? So that when the time comes, when we are campaigning in local and national elections, we can point to our membership and say, this is the kind of thing that our members are doing, right? And we can point to this project and that initiative and, this transformation and so on, and say, this is what we're about. This is, grassroots shit going on actually on the ground right now. Vote for us, put us into office, and we can actually channel resources to your community so that you can start doing stuff like this, right? And so that's the power. It's like a hack of the political system, right? It's using the existing levers of the electoral system to create a platform by which we can say to everyone, on national television, we can field 120 candidates at the next general election in the UK. We get national broadcasts, right? Party political national broadcasts on the major networks, right? And so we get and we get to be part of the debates as well. Can you imagine it? Like an articulate, like a Peter Joseph, right, or a Jacques Fresco, or something like this, right? So or Daniel Schmachtenberger, perfect example. Imagine him standing as a candidate for the Money-Free Party, debating with the candidates for the established political parties, right? Imagine that televised debate, because he can talk. He's not bound by some party line that he has to toe, right? He can just talk honestly, openly, freely, say what he thinks, right? Whereas the others, none of them can do that, right? They all have to toe the line and be careful about not offending this person or that person, or saying something that isn't on their manifesto or whatever it might be, right? The whole, and once you can get that onto television and show everyone just by example, by playing their game and playing it much better than that, and showing how ridiculous the whole thing is. Like, here is a person just actually talking common sense. Do you know what I mean? That And so this is why I think, and I think the time is just right now, right? People have had enough. They've had enough of lockdown. They've had enough of Brexit. They've had enough of not being heard. They've had enough of scrimping and saving and then having their savings taken away from them. They've had enough of having their businesses shut down. You know, they've had enough. People are ready to try something different. And I think now is a good time to try and attack at the electoral level. And so this is what we're trying. The next general election in the UK is in 2024. Between now and 2024, we want to build a membership of people who are doing things on the ground and facilitate the creation of co-ops and community farms and tool libraries and all of this kind of bollocks, right? That builds local resiliency, and do it under the banner of the money-free party, so that, as I say, when the time comes for elections, firstly at the local level and then later at the national level, we can point to hundreds, maybe even thousands of people around the country who are living the change, right? Being the change. They're doing it right now. And, you know, start electing us, start voting for us, start putting percentage points on the board to put pressure, if for no other reason than to put pressure on the existing political institutions to start doing this kind of thing, right? Even if we don't get elected, if it's part of the conversation, pressure now starts to mount for change to actually start to happen. So I think it's got real legs. I think it's got real legs. And I would really like everyone from this group to go to the website, have a little nose around it, but most importantly, sign up, become a member of the party, so that, you know, we can point to all of these people all over the world who are members of the party and doing all of these things.
Wow. 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 You know, the money-free party, what you're telling me about between you and Simon, I'm very, very impressed with both of you, and also Adam, who was on here earlier. He's also part of the money-free party.
Yeah, I've known Adam
You know
for quite
Adam,
a few years now. Yeah, I've known him for a few years
Oh,
now.
wow.
We met on a march, actually, in London. We met on the Million Mask March in London about 5-6 years ago.
You know what? Does the money-free party have regular Zoom meetings like this?
Twice a week. One of them is on
Twice a
Tuesday,
week.
so it kind of clashes with this one. It kind of clashes with this. So yeah,
Well,
one of them is on Tuesdays, the other one is on Sundays.
Tuesdays and Sundays, and you know, we could do a you know, a field trip from here to there if we, and roughly how many people show up?
Well, at the moment only 3 or 4, but we haven't started promoting the website yet. We've only just this week started promoting the website because it wasn't really ready for public consumption. So, you know, now we're going to start pushing and try and, you know, push people towards the website and start developing a membership. And then once we have a membership, then we're in the same boat that you're in here, figuring out how to get the best out of that membership, right? How to first figure out what our skills and capacities are, and then how to best put those skills and capacities to use doing the things that need doing in the party. I mean, like immediately occurring, we need people on Twitter, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, TikTok, Instagram, you know what I mean? Like just responding to and putting stuff out there, right? Just putting a steady stream of stuff out there, responding to stuff that comes back, directing them to the website. We need things for the members to do, right? Things for them to get involved in, projects to be directed to a forum for them to talk on, get to know each other, regular Zoom calls, training videos and training sessions. All of this stuff needs to be built. If you've got to build all of this infrastructure if you're actually going to, and so we can't do this between the two of us, right? Or the three of us, whatever. We can't do all of this stuff. So we need a membership willing to muck in, get their hands dirty, actually. Yeah, so that's where we're at right now. It's very exciting. We're just at the very, 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 very beginning of the road. The website has taken a couple of months, but I think it looks pretty good. I really do. I think it looks pretty good. And there's a lot of well put together, well written, well thought through, ideologically neutral, right? Just common sense, just from very basic, simple principles. We need to have needs met. Without needs met, people can't, you know, do the shit they want to do with their lives and bring what they can bring to the world, right? They just can't. And so reorienting the entire thing around that as the basis. And you can't do that with money, right? Money and markets get in the way of that because it's not profitable to make people independent and resilient and self-sufficient. It's not profitable to do that. It's profitable to have them dependent and living in scarcity. This is where profits are made. Having them live in abundance and independence, no profit in that. So, you know, the entire economy needs to be oriented back to being an economy. Yeah, an economy as in careful management or careful stewardship of resources, right? That kind of economy, not transferring money around to see how much you can cream off in the process. Have you enjoyed the GameStop story, by the way? I bet you've loved the GameStop story, haven't you? Oh, it's been so funny, so funny. Have you been following it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes. I've been following it peripherally, that basically a bunch of people on Reddit found out that these, rich hedge fund managers were shorting the stock and trying to drive it down. And they said, screw you, we're going to take it in the opposite direction. Yeah. But
Exactly right.
that's all I know about it.
Oh, but please let me fill you in a little bit because it's really worth hearing. It's so entertaining and it's such a pleasure. In dark times, it's a real pleasure when things like this come up. So yeah, as you rightly said, the big hedge funds had shorted, but they'd shorted it like really up the gazebo. There was they'd shorted 140% of the shares that existed in circulation, right? And so they were wildly exposed. They apparently opened this short position when the stocks were around about 35, drove them down to $18, at which point this Reddit crew got together and started buying up the shares and drove the price up to like $280 from $18. And at some point, these futures contracts are going to come due, right? And these hedge funds are going to have to buy. They are obliged to buy the shares that they sold. The shares that they sold at $35, they're going to have to buy them at 200, 300, 400, 500, whatever they're at the time when the contracts have run out, right? And so already, one of the big hedge funds, Citadel, right, they have already announced losses of $2.87 billion on this trade, right, and have had to have a cash injection to cover their position. But they're now, but the big hedge, this is where the story's at now, is the hedge funds are saying, all right, well, we've been burned here, but we've closed our positions, right? But I was on Reddit yesterday, and the consensus on there is they haven't closed their positions at all. They're what's it called? What's the word? When you pretend to be dead, when there's a what is it like? Anyway, so they're pretending like it's all over, so the market will go quiet, so that people will start selling their shares again, right? The price will gradually start to tumble, and people will start selling their shares so that they can buy them back and close their positions, which they have not closed. They've still got massive open short positions, and I mean, I don't actually know who possesses the actual shares. I do know that the Reddit Wall Street Bets people, when they buy the shares, they put an order on the shares not to be used for futures trades, right? So these shares are taken out of the possibility of being used for futures. If it was the case, and I don't think this is, but whatever, if it was the case that the Reddit band owned all of the shares when the futures contracts are up, they can name their price. They have to buy them, right? They can say, well, $1,000 a share, and they have to pay. So it's a really beautiful story. And what's happened now is all of the institutional investors have started clamoring around the FCC and the Treasury and Congress and all of that, going, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. They're beating us at our own game. It's not fair. Change the rules so that they can't play anymore. And so now they're trying to close down the trading platforms that these people have been using. They're saying you can't buy shares. You can only sell shares on this platform. You can't buy shares anymore. There's just so fucking outrageous, immediately rigging the market so that they can't be beaten at their own game. But they're going to lose tens of billions of dollars. They're going to lose tens of billions of dollars on this. And all because they got greedy and they shorted it to the tune of 140% of the shares in circulation, right? They got fucking greedy. They wanted to drive the stock down to zero, was what they were trying to do, right? And make the whole $35 a share. Was they trying to send it into bankruptcy, drive it down to zero, get it off the exchange. Was the idea, right? And not have to buy the shares back at all because they were no longer trading. That was the plan. And so they left themselves exposed, and someone figured it out and got some people together, and 2.2 million people on Reddit took on big institutional hedge funds and have kicked their asses. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I love it. In fact, you're inspiring a couple new taglines for Billionaire Rebellion. One of them is rebel or be rebelled against.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Rebel
People
or
have had
get
enough. I'm
rebelled
telling
against.
you, people have had enough. They're going to start taking ever increasing risks in order to start.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm taking risks. The thing is, I actually would have been a billionaire several times over had I not walked away from the family empire, because it had gotten infiltrated by organized crime, and I was getting death threats, basically saying, "Listen, you need to stay in line, or else." And this gets back to the President Vicente Fox thing, and because it went all the way to criminal drug cartels, international criminal drug cartels, and to save my life, I had to go out in public and really take on the drug cartels, and I found a very powerful ally in President Vicente Fox. So anyway, so you're talking to someone who's been there, done that, and continues to do it. And basically, part of Billionaire Rebellion is just recognizing how much blood money is tied up in all these billions, and how much organized crime of different types, not just the kinds that you watch in the movie The Godfather and El Chapo and all that.
No, but huge amounts of drugs and people and prostitutes and weapons and all of it.
Yeah, now we're talking, and you know, government sponsored organized crime.
Absolutely. Almost all of it, when it comes right down to it, is government sponsored one way or another.
Well, the thing is, the CIA basically gets to dictate which criminal organizations get to thrive and which get squished.
Where do the drug cartels get all their weapons from? Do you know what I mean? Like it all comes back to governments in the end. There's no escaping the fact. All of this shit comes back to. There is no way that people could wage war, can do damage, can commit crimes on the scale that governments can. I mean, it just can't be done, right? So yeah,
exactly.
There's a big anarchist streak in me, right? That as soon as you start concentrating power in the hands of a few people, however well-intentioned it may start out, sooner or later it degrades into this. You know, it's inevitable. Distributed networks of distributed structures of governance has to be the way forward, right? Where it is impossible for too much power, too much wealth, too much influence, too much anything to agglomerate in one node in the system, right? It can't be done.
Exactly. So anyway, another tagline I came up with for Billionaire Rebellion is, unless we all make it, nobody is going to make it. Right? And COVID is proving that, right? It simply doesn't pay to have a bunch of poor people out there eating bats and, you know, creating these new super viruses.
Well, I'm not convinced that's where it came from. The lab leak hypothesis is looking more and more likely as time goes on. It seems to me, from what I've read.
Interesting. But in any case, we're just at this super critical moment. Climate change is exponential. I mean, so people say, "Oh, we've got 10 years." No, we don't even have 10 months. And so, but anyway, there's going to be a lot of power in Billionaire Rebellion, because it's not just the billionaires, the 100 millionaires, the 10 millionaires, the whole lot of people who are just, you know, super wealthy. Doesn't really matter so much where you draw the line, but because they control directly and indirectly the governments. They control directly and indirectly.
The media and the education system, the universities, no, all of it, absolutely. This is why the conspiracy theorists have such a field day, right? Because, you know, you can start to see how all of these things feed off of each other, and there's only one of two explanations, right? It is either sort of emergent system level behavior, right? This is bad incentives playing out in an increasingly complicated system over extended periods of time, right? And this is just how the rules of the game unfold. It's like a game of Monopoly, right? One person always ends up with all the property and all the money, and that's just how the game is. And maybe, but you can equally well interpret it as, well, it must be someone somewhere is pulling the strings behind the scenes, right? And is coordinating everything in order to create stupid, compliant, obedient people who will do whatever they're told, right? Especially when a little bit of fear is injected into them.
Exactly.
I make room for both of these possibilities in my mind. I don't know which. I suspect there is some truth to both of them. I suspect it's a mixture of the two. There are bad players who will, you know, like whatever you think about the COVID, whether you think it was a lab leak or not, and whether if you do think it was a lab leak, whether it was deliberate or accidental, you know, whatever. It doesn't, or even, and whether it emerged from bats and livestock markets and whatever. All of these things are direct consequences of our actions, right? All of whatever the origin of the virus, we can absolutely trace it back to our own poor practices in one domain or another, right? So what was my point here? Oh, yeah. So, but once that virus came out and once it started killing people and once it became scary, then from that moment onwards, all of the forces of opportunism and profiteering and scaremongering and power grabbing and all of this kind of stuff have manipulated the situation so that you can't trust anything anyone says anymore, right? Everyone has either got some kind of agenda, or they're trying to make some money, or they're trying to influence someone to do something for them, or whatever. And every single piece of information is put in a particular context, or fails to be put into the proper context. Let's put it that way. You know, cherry picked, lined up with other facts to just look a particular way, where if you line it up with other facts, it looks a different way. You know, all of this kind of thing. And so, it's very easy to see this as a form of divide and rule, right? That again, there's people pulling the strings, they're sowing these narratives out there so that groups will form around these narratives and start fighting with each other. And it really doesn't matter who's right and wrong. The point is, we've got people fighting with each other. And while they're fighting with each other, they're not organizing. And so that's what I think. I think it's divide and rule, and I think it's to some degree deliberate, that it's fueled, right? They turn the volume up on things when they can. COVID, perfect example, right? How has COVID been defined through it? How this whole evolution, cases have been defined by PCR tests at 40 amplification cycles, and deaths have been defined as anyone who's died with a positive COVID test in the last 28 days, right? And those are the metrics that have been used to inform the public and to make public policy around. Now, the PCR tests at 40 cycles are producing a very large number of positive results for people who are not infected or infectious, right? They're carrying levels of viral RNA way below infectious levels. And so the number of cases is being, plus this whole notion of testing people who are not showing any symptoms, right? Never ever been done before. Mass testing of populations, healthy or not, has never been done before. Anyway, so that's one thing. And then counting deaths as anyone who was hit by a bus, anyone who fell down the stairs, anyone who had a heart attack, you know what I mean? If they were tested positive for COVID 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, they go down as a COVID death. And so just by the choice of these two metrics, what you've done is you've turned the volume up on the whole thing, right? And that's all you have to do, turn the volume up like that, and then let the thing go, and everyone goes crazy. Imagine instead of PCR tests at 40, we'd use PCR tests at 25 or 30, which would have actually detected viral loads indicative of infection. And if we counted COVID deaths, not as anyone that had had a positive test, but as anyone whose COVID was likely involved in death, something like that, right? And I get there's some subjectivity around it, but still, it's likely cause of death or likely involved in death, something like that was COVID. All of these numbers would have been, I mean, I can't say how much lower, I can't put a number on it, but all of these numbers would have been dramatically lower, potentially as much, with the infection rate anyway, potentially as much as 90% lower, and the death rate, I don't know, maybe halved, something like that. Now, how different does that make the way the whole thing unfolds across the globe? Just those two metrics, just the choice of those two metrics. Now, who makes those decisions? Who made the choice to run PCR tests to 40 cycles instead of 30? And everyone I mean, A, it's not a diagnostic test, was never designed as a diagnostic test. And B, if you're going to use it as a diagnostic test, surely it should be diagnosing infection and not diagnosing some tiny trace of viral RNA that you might have counted 3 weeks ago.
Alan's got his hand up. Go ahead. Yes, Alan.
Yeah, just I heard 2020, the common flu disappeared off the face of the earth because of COVID. So if you take away all of the deaths that would have been in the common flu during 2020, subtract them from COVID and say, look, COVID saved all of these lives because nobody died from flu. Take all those off the number. What's the number now?
Yeah. I mean, the only metric you can look at sensibly is excess deaths as compared to the 5-year average, right? I mean, I think that's really, the number of COVID deaths is an irrelevant, for the reasons I've just said. It's an irrelevant statistic. But I think excess deaths compared to the 5-year average is a reasonable thing to look at and attribute those to COVID. Although some number of them, and again, I wouldn't like to guess what the number is, but some number of them will not be because of COVID, they will be because of lockdown and people that didn't get their chest pains checked out or their diabetes medication adjusted or whatever, right? There were lots and lots and lots of people who didn't get medical treatment during those 9 months between March and December. So some number of and there's been about 50,000 excess deaths in the UK in 2020 approximately. It's almost exactly a 10% increase over and above the 5-year average. But as I say, some number of those will not actually be COVID, there'll be something else. But so let's say 50,000 COVID deaths in the UK in 2020. I think that's probably fair-ish as an estimate. What do you reckon, Alan? Does that sound reasonable to you?
Sounds reasonable.
What you say about the flu is very funny. On 2 separate occasions, the CDC has made statements, one of them saying, yeah, there's no flu this year because people are wearing masks and social distancing. And then on a separate occasion, a couple of weeks later, COVID is out of control because people aren't wearing masks and social distancing.
Yeah, but really they should take that number. There is a huge number of deaths every year from flu.
From flu,
If
absolutely.
COVID has cured that,
and
then they should be
hospitals are
taking that
full to
number off,
bursting
which would
every
be a
winter,
good
right?
thing.
And hospitals are full to bursting every winter, right? Every year there's headlines, NHS crumbling, can't handle it, blah, 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 every winter. So yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to say that there's nothing, that there is no COVID. I'm not trying to say that. What I am saying is that the volume has been turned up on this whole fucking thing to absolute maximum, right? You know, everything on every channel on the graphic equalizer is up on maximum.
Yeah, we're clearly fast approaching, if not there, at this moment of singularity. All this screams of singularity, right? Between technological singularity, exponential climate change singularity. Thomas Friedman in his book, Thank You for Being Late, has several pages in the middle that are graphs. It's just like the age of exponentials. Everything is going exponential.
Yeah, absolutely. Tech is
So this is
increasing exponentially. Our ability to do stuff in the world is increasing. The only thing that isn't increasing exponentially is our wisdom in conducting our affairs. That is doing the opposite, I think.
But it is precisely that has the biggest potential to come together with what we're doing. If I may, I'd like to share very briefly. This will only take a couple of minutes. Let me get it up and then I'll share it.
Just give me 1 minute. I'm just going to go to the toilet. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Oh, no. Take as long as you want. How long would you like? I could use a break myself.
No, I'll literally be 1 minute.
Okay, great. All righty, back on. And
yeah, not for long. I've really got to go. It's like 1:45. I've got to go.
No, I understand, but
But
you
show
know,
me this
I
thing,
just have
whatever
to.
it was. Show me this thing that you've queued up.
Oh yeah. Here, let me screen share here. So this is one of my websites called Radish, Radical Collective Intelligence. And let me go to the white paper. Anyway, I talk a lot about a lot of things on the white paper, but we get down here to super intelligence through Radical Collective Intelligence. And I reprinted here an excerpt from this book, Super Intelligence, by Nick Bostrom, who's a professor at Oxford. And he says here, but what of the seemingly more fanciful idea that the internet might one day wake up? Could the internet become something more than just the backbone of a loosely integrated collective superintelligence? Something more like a virtual skull housing an emerging unified superintellect. This was one of the ways that superintelligence could arise, according to Werner Vinge's influential 1993 essay, which coined the term technological singularity. Against this, one could object that machine intelligence is hard enough to achieve through arduous engineering, and that it is incredible to suppose that it will arise spontaneously. However, the story need not be that some future version of the internet suddenly becomes super intelligent by mere happenstance. A more plausible version of the scenario would be that the internet accumulates improvements through the work of many people over many years. Work to engineer better search and information filtering algorithms, more powerful data representation formats, more capable autonomous software agents, and more efficient protocols governing interactions between such bots, and that myriad incremental improvements eventually create the basis for some more unified form of web intelligence. It seems at least conceivable that such a web-based cognitive system, supersaturated with computer power and all other resources needed for explosive growth, save for one crucial ingredient, could, when the final missing constituent is dropped into the cauldron, blaze up with superintelligence.
Yeah, it's very similar to the notion of supersaturation, isn't it? The supersaturated solution crystallizing instantaneously when just given a little tap, just needs that little impetus once the conditions are right, and then all of a sudden the whole system reorients itself. It's the same kind of idea.
That's right. And now that we're finding people like yourself, like Simon, like Alan, and like Adam, all coming together from the same big island, now it's like I have more hope than ever, because I'm seeing that there's this critical mass that's forming. Yes, Alan, go for it.
Yeah, just circle and square again. All of the movies present this as the worst idea ever. Skynet, the Terminator, the end of the world, super intelligence. The actual reality could be the best thing that ever happens. And that it's, when we think of a world where humans are free to just do whatever they want, and the only job they have is to be fans of entertainers or be an entertainer, and robots do all the work and computers do all the processing and take care of everything. They always present that as like some sort of nightmare scenario where robots have taken over the world, we're all slaves, but the reality could actually be the best thing that ever happens. We're all free.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I like to feel it would be somewhere in between, right? That technology is sort of somehow integrated into because this idea of freedom is something I've also thought a great deal about, and it troubles me, right? Because freedom in any kind of absolute sense means the absence of constraint, right? And constraint is absolutely necessary for any kind of order. And so again, it's a balance thing, right? I mean, you need to have sufficient freedom, but you also need to have sufficient constraint to create order. If you don't have order, you don't have any kind of continuity, you don't have any kind of stability, security, that kind of thing. And so you want some of that, but too much of that gets cloying, right? And ossified and stagnant. And so it's finding the right amount of novelty into the, you know, into the right amount of structure and the right relationship between these two things. And of course, that sweet spot is always moving around, and you've got to adjust to that. It's a dance. Yet again, so many of these things can be likened to a dance. But I really like that. I'm stealing this from Daniel Schmachtenberger, but I love the analogy of the body for this idea of freedom versus constraint, right? That every cell in the body is free to do its own thing, right? But it is constrained by the fact that it is part of a body, and it has a responsibility to its function within that body. And so any given cell on its own is fucking useless, right? It can do very, very, very few things. But when it's part of a body, it's now part of a larger whole, which is enormously capable. And, you know, you don't have cells arguing over who's going to get the most oxygen. Cells don't have to do their job before they get fed and clothed and housed, right? There is a grand reciprocity that takes place in the body without anything particularly transacting with anything else. There is needs met and uses performed, functions performed in this integrated way, right? And you know, every cell does its own thing, surrounded by other cells which regulate it. And that, you know, the levels of organization build up, and somehow the 10 trillion cells, they come together in one coherent experience, right? Of me as a human being sitting here right now. I got 10 trillion cells all doing their own things, all organized, all getting messages from all kinds of different places, and the whole thing just works because everything does what it does. It operates within the constraints placed upon it and does so joyfully, something like that. It's maybe not quite the right word, joyfully, but something like that, right? With the pleasure of knowing that it is, I don't know, a part of that. And so this is what the collective intelligence is about, right? Is tapping into that sense of being a cell in the body and doing your thing, whatever it is, somehow knowing what is yours to do without ever being able to figure it out rationally, right? It's way too big. No one cell can figure out what the needs of all the other cells are and adapt its behavior according to all of that, right? It can only do what it can do and be sensitive to the feedback it's getting from its immediate environment and do that, right? And everything else does that. And when everything else does that, the whole thing, the relationships come together in synergies and emergent properties and the human being as a whole. Again, I've waffled on and on and on. I'm so sorry. I keep doing this. I'm fucking.
Don't be sorry.
No, I'm not shy. I'm not shy at all. That's the problem. I take over. You know what I mean? I get on a roll and I enjoy it.
Well,
I like the sound of my own. I like the sound of my own voice way too much, and I enjoy it when I get on a roll and I just waffle on. So I do apologize.
No. I'm going to pause recording. Okay, recording again. And I've see, and this is part of it, is that there is so much brilliant stuff out there that we haven't tapped into yet because we haven't put together the collective superintelligence, because then we can have this super being that's going to make our current level of intelligence and awareness and sense making look like an amoeba.
Yeah.
By comparison, right? This is what's on the table. And once we have this level of collective superintelligence, we'll solve climate change like that. We've got all the tools. We've got all the solutions. We just need to get smart.
See, it's funny. I'm not sure this is right, but I sort of feel that in a way, we already know how to do it, right? We need to it's a process of unlearning rather than a process of learning. We need to unlearn the restrictive thought patterns and frameworks and so on that we've become accustomed to, right? And if that's and then the rest comes from that kind of thing. That's like that Yoda line, right? You must unlearn what you have learned, and I think there's a lot to that. It's hard though to unlearn stuff that you assume and just do automatically. It's really hard to unlearn. And things like money and profit and competing with each other and all, you know, this is right from school, right? We've competed with each other for A's and for gold stars and for university places and for jobs and for promotions and for, you know what I mean? Like it's the water that we swim in, and to unlearn that shit, it's fucking hard, man. Fucking hard.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Very, 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 very hard. I mean, and see, that's the billionaire's disease. You know, it's one thing if you play that game and all right, you accumulate a few million and it's like, okay, I'm comfortable. I never have to work again, whatever. Right. It's quite another thing when you control an amount of money that could end hunger. Literally.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And people have no clue how economical it would be to end hunger. Right.
Yeah,
I
or
proposed the idea
homelessness.
back.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So incredibly efficient and economical. And then can you imagine the benefits that would accrue to society?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Take any big metropolis, take London, take Los Angeles, eliminate hunger and malnutrition and homelessness. And you're going to see an evaporation of crime, of disease spreading, COVID, so many things, right, are just going to evaporate away. If you just, I liken it to public sewage in London, right? Now that it's built out, it's so efficient, no one could ever conceive of there not being
Absolutely,
public
not
sewage.
being there. Absolutely.
Oh, and so we can literally do the same thing with food. I can show you, actually in my email, I've got a link to the latest. It's a 6-minute video on food healers and how quickly
can I
and how
show you
efficient.
something I've just made, Rick? Because
Please.
We're on very similar pages with food.
Yeah.
Although I do have a couple of issues with your plan. I watched that 6-minute video. I understand your plan. I do have a couple of issues with it. But just before we get into that, let me just show you a video that I made, because I agree with you that food is the lowest hanging fruit. This is the domain to attack first of all. I agree with that completely. I have a slightly different line of approach on it to you, but let me show you mine's less than 3 minutes, my video.
Sure.
Sorry, my computer's being a little slow, but I'll have it very shortly. Coming up. One on food. Basically, the point to start off with here is that food is like a microcosm, right, of all of the things that we do wrong as a society, all the way we go about doing things that are wrong and harmful and destructive and unsustainable. Food is a good microcosm for all of this, right? Sustainability issue, the disconnectedness that we have from it, the centralized control, the poor quality of the food that we eat, all of the lack of transparency around what goes on in food production. This is indicative of pretty much all domains. Taking back food is something that can be done right now today without any other changes going on at all, right? We can actually start on this road today, and it would be profoundly transformative and really wholesome, and not just in terms of the quality of the food that we eat, but in getting together and producing our food and sharing our food and exchanging our food and eating our food together, seed exchanges, cuttings exchanges, neighborhood markets, all of this kind of thing. Every building with a flat roof has a garden on it. Everyone's garden is partly used for producing vegetables or fully used, whatever, for producing vegetables. Community gardens and allotment expansion. All of this kind of thing could be done right now. Add to that the possibility of vertical farms in urban environments, and you have the capacity to produce a very significant proportion of food at a local, hands-on kind of level. So that's the proposition. I've mentioned most of the technologies available. One final thing is the notion of a return to permaculture and organic farming. There is this notion that couldn't produce enough food like that, but actually this is not true. Organic and permaculture techniques can produce more per square meter than intensive monoculture, plus a greater variety and better quality, but it is more labor intensive. And so I think a key thing to recognize here is that labor intensive, more people involved in food production is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. If we can get people out of bullshit jobs and into food production, reducing their need to earn money, because one of the primary things for which we require money, food, is now being taken care of at the local level. And the last thing to mention on this is that a return to organic and permaculture, this was done globally, the restoration of the soil that would ensue as the microbiota in the soil comes back to life, it would draw down vast amounts of carbon into the soil, and this could offset, more than offset, all human global emissions as the soil comes back to life. So it is also a step on the road to a solution towards climate change. So there we go. That's the opening move on food.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Would you be good enough to paste the link to that video in the chat so that I can then put it into my own video? Hey, you got to watch Eric's video, or this video is not complete. No, brilliant. Brilliant. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad to know you, gentlemen. I'm so glad we're all coming together finally to figure all this out. What an incredible blessing.
There you go. There's the link.
I think I've
awesome.
I think I've said this before, but I don't think it was while we were recording. But looking at the way the democratic parties in the world work, it's always like a battle. I seldom ever hear someone going up and saying, we've got these really good ideas, we've got these really great propositions of what we're going to do. They're always saying, don't vote for them, they're this, they're that, they're bad, they're evil, they're blah, 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 and they're fighting against each other, and they're trying to win by making the other one not win. If you changed that whole dynamic and you made it so that same system, but you were trying to get the other party to win. So all you were saying was they're really good, they've got this brilliant idea, and you win by making the other party win. The party that doesn't get voted for then has the job of making sure that the party that's made all these promises fulfills them. Because the thing is that we have two-party systems everywhere, and the reality is, I mean, we're not really voting for anybody. If you look at the British one, you've got the Commons, is it, or the House where they sit on either side of the green chairs. You've got like the one party that gets voted on one side and one party gets voted on the other side. And when the one loses, they just swap sides. It's the same people running the country the same way, sitting and playing musical chairs. And some of them, their party loses, so they change and they go over to the other party, so they're still on the winning side. You're not really voting any difference, any change. You're just, what seats are these guys going to sit on?
And there really is no meaningful alternative to vote for, right? I mean, even the Green Party is largely in line with, you know, broadly speaking, economic policy, employment policy, you know, social security policy. Do you know what I mean? Like, broadly speaking, it's the same thing. They put a little bit more money here, a little bit less money there, but basically, it's really no different. The Money-Free Party is the only party that offers truly an alternative. Seriously, it really is. Could I ask your indulgence on one more thing, and then I really must go. It's getting very late. It's
of course.
+1 in the morning.
Yeah, of course.
I just wanted to show you one page from the website. We were talking about homelessness a minute ago, and I think this is a pretty decent page to show you. So this is from the policies page, right? This is the housing policy. I'll read it out to you. Fuck it. I was going to say I'll let you read it for yourself, but no, I'll read it out to you. Let me just make this tiny. There we go. For the homeless shelter charity, so the homeless charity shelter estimates that there are 280,000 people currently homeless in the UK. That's 1 in 200 adults. That a country as wealthy as ours allows this to happen at all is deplorable enough, but in the context of there being over 200,000 homes standing empty, it's utterly needless as well. Local government spends fortunes on short-term fixes, putting families up in bed and breakfast and paying wads of cash to rent-seeking landlords so that the poor and desperate may live in often squalid conditions. This solves nothing. Once again, we are faced with the reality that our current systems, based on money, profit, and market forces, are incapable of meeting basic human needs. Shelter from the elements is among the most basic human needs of them all. There's no question that in a civilized society, housing should be as universally accessible, free at the point of receipt as healthcare and education are today. Getting from here to there may be a challenge, but one well worth taking on. Imagine the peace of mind that comes from knowing that whatever happens, you will always have a decent roof over your head. Imagine what that does for the society as a whole. Given that the housing stock already exists to house everyone immediately, this is actually more of a logistical problem than a construction one in the short term. A few examples of short-term action might be where properties are currently standing empty because they're derelict, abandoned, or unfit for occupation, they should be restored to functionality immediately and included in the social housing stock. In cases where empty property is a second or holiday home or an investment property or repossession, a request is made of the owner to allow their property to be used, terms to be negotiated in good faith. There are tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of 3 and 4 and 5 bedroom homes being occupied by single people or couples. It seems reasonable to suppose that many of them might prefer to live in something smaller that requires less maintenance and upkeep, or perhaps some might be happy to make rooms available or have the house converted into 2 or more dwellings. If these kinds of things could be accomplished easily and painlessly, many might volunteer. Of course, nobody's forcing anyone, but simply making the request could pay big dividends. More and more commercial property is standing empty as online shopping takes over from the high street and more people work from home. Repurposing some of this to make more residential stock available would be a relatively simple matter. But most importantly of all, it's really important to understand that homelessness is about more than simply not having a room over your head. The set of circumstances that led to the person becoming homeless in the first place were likely pretty traumatic, and life on the streets carries its own traumas. Therefore, along with rehoming people has to come a network of support structures to help people heal, get back on their feet, and start finding a passion to follow in their lives, and see our social therapy section for more on this. In the longer term, we believe that housing should be commons where nobody owns their home, but everybody has access to one. Some kind of right of exclusive permanent residence could be established so that nobody could be kicked out of their home, but would expire at death and the property re-enters the common pool. There are a few actions that can be taken immediately to take us in that direction. Number one, gifting your property to the commons. Could stipulate in your will that your house is to be made a gift to the commons, and a body such as the National Residential Property Commons Trust could be set up, whose dealings would of course model the principles of transparency, inclusion, and sound process articulated in the introduction. The idea of giving away the most precious asset will be a pretty outrageous notion to many. Stipulations that, for example, their children could be living, it could be made, which could go some way to assuage those fears. But the fact is that the shift away from seeing our houses as financial assets to instead viewing them as valuable commons is a big one, best done step by step. National Property Exchange to be set up, whether to upsize or downsize or get a change of scene, people are always going to want to move for all kinds of reasons. Right now, this is a tiresome and time-consuming and cumbersome process, replete with paperwork and legal hoops to jump through, not to mention bloody expensive. Once housing is commons, though, we can simply move about as we wish. You live in Swansea and want to move to Liverpool? No problem. Plenty of nice places in Liverpool. Take whichever one you fancy, move in, and your house in Swansea is now available. Simple, right? No messing about with price differentials, stamp duty, solicitors' fees, estate agents, mortgage applications, blah, 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 blah. Clearly, it won't always be that simple, although in time there's no reason it couldn't be exactly that simple. But until then, maybe there's a shortage and 3 people want the same house. Who gets it? Who decides? Well, first of all, if there is a genuine shortage, then urgent attention goes to remedying that. The creation of abundance solves so many disputes before they even have a chance to happen. But until then, it just needs to be settled as well as it can be. Effective conflict and dispute resolution is covered in detail in the law and crime section. And then finally, oh no, sorry, not finally. Sorry, are you getting bored? Do you want me to stop? I'm feeling like I'm waffling on and on. Do you want me to stop?
Love it. I love it.
All right, we're almost done. I'll just finish off quickly. So expansion of community, living, co-housing and similar. The ideals of building trust, building community, relationship and resilience come up again and again on this website. Apologies if it's getting dull, but these things are super important and so they bear repeating. They're also the very same things that reside at the heart of community living. It's hard to imagine that anyone would not want to be part of a community that explicitly supported each other and worked together, that was large and independent and self-sustaining unit, and in which everyone is well known to each other. This does not have to mean complete loss of privacy and independence, nor does it mean having to live in huts or caves. Co-housing affords each person or family a chance to live in their own private home while at the same time having shared spaces in which to eat, meet, play, celebrate, grieve, and perhaps worship together as a community. Benefits and burdens alike are shouldered and enjoyed together. Decisions that affect everyone are made collectively in the best interest of the community as a whole. Having people around you that you know that you can afford to look after, that you can trust to look after your kids, keep an eye on things when you go on holiday, be them when you're sick or injured, being part of a unit which is capable of meeting its own needs. This is what real security is. And then finally, updating and improving and expanding existing housing stock. This is an ongoing process, of course. There's plenty of room for improvement of the existing stock, from basic repairs to double glazing and better insulation to the widespread placing of solar panels and wind turbines on roofs. There's plenty of low-hanging fruit to be picked immediately. As new technologies, further refinements can be made, but part of the purpose of housing exchange mentioned above will be to highlight areas of surplus and shortage. Where there's a surplus, is there anything that can be done to make that place a more attractive one to live in, encouraging new residents in to take up that slack? Where there's a shortage, how best to meet it? Could it have been anticipated? Recent advances in construction technologies mean that houses can now be printed in very short timeframes. Utilising such innovations allows for the possibility of responding very rapidly. Right, I do apologise again, because it's longer than I recall it being, that section.
No, I love it. My goodness. Love it. Wow. You know, what you've got
There's
going
good
on.
stuff on that website. There's a lot of good stuff on there. It's long, you know, there's a lot to read, there's a lot to go through, but it's good stuff.
Yeah. You know, I know you need to get to bed, so don't let me keep you. But if you did want to see an excerpt of the press conference that changed the world, I'm happy to share that, or I can just give you the link. Actually, it's in the
give me the
email.
link and I'll open a window and I'll check it out probably tomorrow, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course. In fact, it's in the email that I sent out. So you're on my email list. You got the email that starts.
Well,
Billionaire
Simon forwarded
Rebellion.
it to me. No, I don't think I am on your list. Simon forwarded it to me.
Oh, okay. You want if you want to be on the list, I'd love to have you. So please give me your email if you'd like, and I'll put you on the list. And I really think that the Money Free Party and what we're doing here, we just need to come together. I think, and we can create a model for how to come together.
There's my email address.
Thank you. And in fact, you know, we could just create like an international Money Free Party.
Well, there are already money-free parties in various places in the world. There's a very active one in New Zealand. There's a somewhat active one in the US. There's one in Australia. There's one in Brazil, I think. There's a few of them around the place. It's been around for a while, the money-free party. It's nothing new. It's been around for a while. It's fallen dormant on more than one occasion. You know, few people crowd around it, some activity takes place, and then it sort of falls dormant, and that's what had happened.
Gotcha. But really, I mean, you're just like, I feel like you and I must have been separated at birth or something like that. we think so similar, and you're just like, and also when I smoke, my mind just goes woo, and it's just like awesome. I mean,
I've been in this space a while, Jamin. I've been in this space one way or another for a while, and I pretty much spend all my time thinking about this stuff. You know, I mean, I don't have a job anymore. You know what I mean? My time is all my own, and so this is pretty much where I'm, as Adam was talking about earlier on, immersion. Right? I'm immersed.
Wow. Love it.
I bring a lot to these conversations because I've been in a lot of these different communities, right? I was in the Game Bee community. I followed Jordan Peterson around well, not physically, but followed Jordan Peterson around for a while. And metamodernism, I've been involved in that, and integral theory, and glass bead games, and you know what I mean. So I've been in, and so all of these stuff, they all feed off of each other and complement each other, right?
Totally. And,
well, all of these groups that I'm part of, they're all a little bit different, right? And I absorb stuff from all of them, and we all do that, right? And again, this is what the collective intelligence is. We all become multifaceted neurons in a network, and we can plug into a variety of other different neurons effectively and be useful.
Exactly. Yeah, you're kind of like a walking super intelligence yourself, having absorbed so much and been at it for a while. I've been at it for a while myself. Pretty much full time in these pursuits for close to 7 years now. And again, this is it's pretty much all I think about also. So Goodness. Well, I'm so glad to know you, and I'm so glad that you're here. And you know, my big days are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, right here in this Zoom room, to which you're always welcome.
Well, if you're around on Sunday mornings, that would not clash. If you're around on Sunday mornings, your time, it's 6 p.m. UK time, which means it would be 10 a.m. your time, your Pacific time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 10 a.m. your time.
Very good. Very good.
Sundays. If you give me a moment.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Hang on.
Very good. Very good. Great. Wonderful.
Time is that
Got it.
UK
time?
time?
10 a.m. Sorry, 6 p.m. UK time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m.
Tomorrow.
UK time. On Sundays. On
Sunday.
Sundays. Yeah, you're welcome to come along as well, Alan. If you want to, you'd be welcome to drop in. Every Sunday, it's a money-free party meeting. We just get together, talk about whatever. If there's stuff that needs to be done, we figure out who's going to do it. And yeah, otherwise, just talk about stuff. It's as much about relationship building as it is about the content of the meetings, you know? So much about just hanging out together regularly and building solid, trustful relationships.
And are your Tuesday meetings at the same time, same channel?
Tuesday meetings are at 7:30 p.m. UK time, which is half an hour before your meeting starts. So, sorry, yeah, half an hour after your meeting starts. Sorry.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which is why I slipped out earlier on for a few minutes, because I was late for that at 7:30 to see if anyone else was there. So if they did turn up, they fucked off again before I got there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, Tuesdays I can only really hang around for half an hour, and then I need to get back to the other meeting. But Thursdays, I'm free on Thursdays. I can hang around for a bit on Thursdays.
Oh yeah, please come on Thursday. We would love to have you, because
yeah, listen, I won't be there every week. But I'll be there sometimes. And yeah. Listen, I'm always happy to drop in and have interesting chats.
Wonderful.
Especially
wonderful,
as I say, when people find what I'm saying interesting, and you know, then that's fucking catnip to me. That's catnip to me. I can't stop myself.
So just
well, we're a whole catnip factory for you, Eric. So please keep coming.
Yeah, it was
Sorry, Alan, what was that?
Morning.
I didn't catch that. Say again.
Oh, I'm muted, don't I? Oh, 6 a.m. in the morning on Sunday, not.
No. 6 p.m. in the evening. Yeah, no, fuck 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on Sunday and 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday are our two regular times. But I've actually had a slot open up on Wednesdays, so I could potentially do the Tuesday ones on Wednesdays if other people can. I don't know. We'll have to see. I spend a lot of my evenings on Zoom, one way or another. Too much. Yeah. Eye strain.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to hit the set, guys. Very nice chatting with you.
All right.
Nice to meet you, Alan. Not just to see you, not just to see the picture, but actually to see you. Nice. Where are you, by the way? Where are you in Scotland? Whereabouts are you?
Yeah, just outside Edinburgh.
Right. Okay. Cold and wet?
Snowy.
Snowy. Oh, nice. Don't really get snow here. Occasionally, but not really.
What part of England are you in, Eric?
I'm not in England. I live in northwest Spain.
Oh my goodness! What, in Galicia?
Yeah, exactly.
I've been there. I was there in 2019 on the Camino de Santiago, carrying a big flag that said Laudato Si, the name of Pope Francis's encyclical, trying to start a movement around the Laudato Si. They're in Spain. No, good for you. What a beautiful area. Yeah. And where? What town in Galicia?
I'm not in a town. I'm in a teeny weeny little village.
What's the nearest? I'd love to look it up on a map.
Nearest town, probably Orense is the nearest decent sized town. Spelled
Orense?
Orense, Ourense.
Orense. Wow. My goodness. That is so cool. I love Galicia. That is so cool. That is so cool. And I lived in Spain 82, 83 years ago. My goodness, that is so cool. And do you speak
Cold and wet in
Spanish?
the winter, though. It's cold and wet in the winter, I tell you.
No. I know. Well, I live in the
Rains
Pacific
non-stop
Northwest
for
of the
2
United
weeks
States.
on end. It just rains constantly for 2 weeks, and then it's dry for a couple, and then it rains again for 3 weeks. So yeah, but yeah, it's okay. I'm pretty comfortable here, and I actually really enjoy the seasons, because after a couple of months of summer, the flies are driving me mad. After a couple of months of winter, the long dark nights and the having to use the generator to top up the batteries for the power in the house, and all of this kind of thing is driving me mad. So, but every season that comes around, I welcome it as it comes. I've had enough of it as it's leaving. You know what I mean? It's perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
totally. That's it. That's it. Oh my goodness. Shoot, it makes me want to move to Galicia. Anyway, well, I speak fluent Spanish, and we have a program every Friday evening, our time, called El Puente. And it's a bridge between cultures, between languages, and also a bridge to ICIC, the Intentional City in the Clouds. So anyway, but that'd be super late for you. You'd be sleeping during that time. Anyway, sounds like you need to do that now.
I should be sleeping now. All right. Yeah, no, nice one, guys. And I will see you again sometime soon.
Great to see you, Eric. Thank you so much. All right, we'll see you soon. Buenas noches. All right. Wow, I'm going to pause.